All right, all right. Hopefully everything's working now. For some reason on YouTube it wasn't going. I'm going through OBS, so maybe you see me, maybe you don't. I'm gonna stick around and see if anybody comes into the room. We're gonna try something different. I'm gonna try and do this live, where I'm gonna show you the videos that I'm talking about as we go. I know it's gonna be delayed. It's a work in progress. I've been working on the studio, setting it up for y'all. Hopefully I did an okay job. But anyway, I just wanted to cover some topics of the week that have really been on my mind since the last live that I went. I don't see anybody in the room just yet, so I'm going to give it some time. Hey, how you doing? You play? I'm waiting to see if anybody's in the room right now coming in. Welcome. I appreciate you coming in right now. I think they're just now letting people into the room. So I see. What's up, Willie Frazier? How you doing? This week has been like a lot of information, a lot of things that I wanted to kind of like talk about. I'm making so many videos that it's kind of hard to get them all out. So I kind of wanted to go live and discuss some of them, some of the topics that have been on my mind this past week. I'm going to play some videos. I'm going to try and see to do that live and see if that works. Again, this is my first one actually doing something of that nature, being able to produce something live like this on YouTube. I'm typically on TikTok and just let it roll that way. But I'm on YouTube now, and I thank you guys for all the follows. We've been growing pretty well. Thank you, Willie. I appreciate you, man. Much love to you. So we're about to get into this. This past week, there's been a lot of things going on. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of sick of the chaos. And I don't understand people who just love chaos for chaos sake. You know, I mean, I understand like not doing anything at all is not the option. But to constantly be in chaos, to constantly have some kind of conspiracy theory, to constantly believe that something's against you. I mean, how paranoid did you have to be to always believe that? Never searching the facts, just believing what your paranoid neighbor or cousin or grandma or uncle or best friend says, but not actually seeking the facts yourself. And the thing I realize is that a lot of people don't know how to search for facts. It sounds like crazy, right? But a lot of people search for what they already believe in. That's not searching for facts. That's searching for validation. And that's what a lot of people do. They'll say, oh, I'm searching for facts. No, you're searching for validation. Anybody can do that. I can look online right now and say, can turkeys fly? And then go find somebody who's just as dumb as me and say, yeah, they fly high. And then all of a sudden, that's a fact because another person said the exact same idiotic thing that you believe, and now that's a fact. No. When you search for facts, you don't search for your belief. You search for the answer. It may be against your belief. You search for what's actually the truth, not what you believe to be the truth. Ask the question the way as if you didn't know it. Not ask it in a perceived manner. So let's say if I say that, birds fly, whatever, I would ask the question, can this specific bird fly? I would not ask it, these birds can't fly, can they? Because you've already put in that it does not fly. Somebody's going to say they can't fly. You see what I'm saying? The way you ask the question is the way you get the response. And it's all about searching for validation, not information. You're searching for misinformation. Whatever agrees with me, whatever agrees with my preconceived notion, that's a fact. No, it's not. I've had people ask me the question, hey, people want to know, like, what's the difference from straight facts and just your opinion? Well, let me give you a scenario. Your boy needs to lose some weight, right? My doctor and I agree, your boy fat. And he needs to lose weight to get in better shape. That's a fact. Many people would sit around and be like, oh, well, I'm big boned and this happens. No, that's your opinion. That's your thought processes of trying to cope with the fact that you can't walk a flight of stairs. Quit lying to yourself. It is the truth that you need to lose weight. You could be happy being fat, but don't lie and say I'm thin or I'm big boned. No, you're not. You got the same weight of bone that I got. There's a fact and then there's opinion. You can have your opinion about the fact and negate it if you want. But the facts are the facts. 100%. None of this craziness. Yeah, it's delayed. I understand that. It's very delayed. And I'm trying to work that latency out. But I try to get the lowest latency so that we can be on the same. But I can't even look over here because it's so delayed. But it is what it is. So those are the things that I explain to people about. There's a difference between a fact and your feelings. You may feel bad to look in the mirror and say you're fat, but you are, Drew. You are. I'm not going to put it out on y'all because I don't want nobody to say, oh, you said I was fat. Get out your feelings. This is all me I'm talking about. I don't lie to myself. I tell the truth to myself. That's the only way I'll change. That's the only way I'll become better. If I tell the truth to myself about myself so I can love myself for who I am and who I want to be and who I aspire to be. I can't sit here and say that I'm here when I'm here. You can keep on lying to yourself all you want, but tell the truth. I want to get here and I got to change these things to do it. That's the truth. And that's the way you get to your solution. Otherwise, you're lying to yourself for no reason. You'll never achieve this if you think you're there already and you're down here. I know people tell you, believe in it before you get to it. That's fine. But enact a plan to get there. Don't just think it's going to magically happen like God going to throw you some magic beans and you're going to grow. That ain't going to happen. He's talking about your works, what you do with that thought process. Not just having it and poof, it's there. That's not how it works. What's up, Lauren? How you doing? Less and less, right? Rich? People need facts less every day. We can't talk to them. Exactly. Tell the truth. Now, this is delayed, and I get it. I'm going to play some video because there are 3 topics that I want to talk about today, and I might get to a 4th, but at least 3 that I know I want to get to. And I want to play the video so that you see these individuals say what they say and not coming from my mouth only, because I don't like to have anything where it's perceived that I may be lying or I may not have the facts. And if I don't have the facts, I am one to say I don't have them. I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I'm knowledgeable about something. And see, that's the problem I think we have in this society. Just because we may not have the facts on hand doesn't mean I can't go research it and gain that knowledge. Nobody cares when you know it, just the fact that you learn it and know it. So often we have people misrepresenting the truth in media. And they act like, okay, we don't know the answer to that. We're going to let them lie. But they never come back and say, hey, this person lied here, 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 here. None of this stuff makes sense. One of the other things that I realize also in media, especially on news, the person you're asking to come to your show, it is not their first interview ever. You know their list of lies. If you watch 1 or 2 of their videos, you'll know their list of lies. You acting like in the media that you can't discount those lies in like live is a disservice to people. It's a lie. You know what lies this person comes pre-packaged with. And you're going to ask the questions that you know that they lie to most of the time. And you leave it hanging out there without debating the fact. I don't have a problem with a person who's interviewing somebody cutting them off. I know it's kind of disjointed and it gets on some people's nerves, but I'm sorry. Lies do not deserve to live. You must kill them on sight. That's it. Don't let the lie live. Once that lie tries to give life, Kill it. No, you ain't. Stop. Time out. None of this shit's happening. You ain't going to lie on my show or anything. You going to tell the truth or get the fuck off. And I don't care about ratings. I don't care about people, oh, my advertisers may not like it. I don't have advertisers. Fuck them. And even if I did, I'm not going to change who I am. You either ride or die with me. And I'm riding with the truth. Lies must die. Period. I'm not letting half of them live. They're all gone. And I will stop down the show and Google my ass off before I let that shit go by. And there's no amount of time. I don't care if it gets boring. You'll be like, oh, this dude's always looking stuff up. Why? Because I trust the truth. And if you come on the show lying, I'm going to get in that ass. I'm going to tell you that right now. 100%. It's not going to fly with me. Now, we're going to go through some things that happened this past week that you guys may have already seen. Now, I want to break it down to some of the factual things or misrepresentations that the persons actually gave to the people. What's up? One Black Potter, welcome, one of the members, much respect. Ashley, my only FYF member, thank you. So, we're about to try something different. I don't know how much of a delay this is going to be for y'all, so I'm going to give it a second in between. We're going to switch it over. One video I want to talk to you about is MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She had a post interview after she said what she did in Congress and in the House, whatever. You'll see this in a sec. Hopefully it switches over. I'm going to give it some time to switch over on the live. There we go.
No, absolutely not. I mean, everything I said is correct. It's how the American people feel. It's what we know to be a fact. It's all the evidence has been proven true. We have Jamie Raskin in there accusing us of worshiping Trump, worshiping as a convicted felon. He is a convicted felon. Well, yeah, so is George Floyd and everybody, and you all too, the media.
You notice, I'm going to play it, continue to play it, but you notice, as soon as she said, well, he is a convicted felon, she flipped out. I mean, flipped out. Started talking about George Floyd as a convicted felon. What has George Floyd got to do with any of this? This man was murdered in broad daylight. And you're talking about his police record prior to this event? What has that got to do with anything? And if you really pay attention to it, she's negating the fact that Donald Trump is not a convicted criminal. So you're justifying it by saying George Floyd. What do those two have to do with one another? Not a thing. They just grab shit out the sky to try and make it like comparable. I mean, and none of it has any comparison whatsoever. Donald Trump got 34 felonies. Way more than George Floyd ever had. He got it in one shot. George Floyd had like a few years of doing things. But that was his past that had nothing to do with his demise, his murder. And she thinks we worshiped him because people were tired of our people being killed in the street. Men, women, children, people of all races came together and said, no more. And that's worshiping the man that was murdered? No. That's fighting against the system that allowed it to happen in broad daylight, that validated a police officer doing it while being told not to. While the world looked and said, hey, this is wrong, that person still doing it and looking at everybody like, this is my right. I can murder this man right in front of you and ain't no problem. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to me. Just calmly killed a man like it was eating breakfast and had no remorse. None whatsoever. Not a feeling, not any emotion in his eyes, no sympathy, no empathy, just deadpan. He deserved it. That has something to do with worshiping the man he murdered. No, the worship would be anybody validating the cop for doing what he did, knowing that it was wrong, but trying to find any way in the world to make it right. That would be worshiping. And that worship is white power. Because there's no reason, if that had been a white man doing it to a white man, they would be pissed off that he killed him. But we're going to continue. Hey, what's going on, Misty Blues? How you doing? She's Tammy Patterson here. So let's continue on with this.
Worship George Floyd. Democrats worship George Floyd. There were riots burning down the fucking country over George Floyd, and Raskin is in there saying we worship him. Excuse me, let me correct you, and this is really important. I don't worship, I worship God. God. And Jesus is my savior. I don't worship President
6B.
Trump. And I'm really sick and tired of the bullshit annex I have to deal with constantly from the Democrats. So that's what we just went through in there. And then they're sitting there, they can attack my character all day long. What's his face in there? Whoever was talking last was calling me insane. But yet we can't say, oh, they're attacking my character. Oh no, it's nonstop BS and annex. You want to know why? The Democrats don't have anything. They're responsible for the lockdowns, forced vaccinations, kids being forced to stay home, people committing suicide, and all the horrors that this country lived through during COVID. Fauci belongs in prison. He should be tried for mass murder, and he should be tried for crimes against humanity. That's how I feel after that hearing. That's how the American people feel.
So, first of all, what is crimes against humanity? She meant humanity, but what is that? Humidity. Anyway, she went off because this interviewer called not Joe Biden, but she called the ex-president a criminal. Calling Donald Trump a criminal, or having, a convicted felon, 34 times, by the way, she went nuts right after that. Before that, she was just mad about the little thing, but then he is a convicted criminal. Went crazy. So why is she going crazy over the facts? Marjorie Taylor Greene does something in this also that even Mitch McConnell did. And it's very slight because most people don't recognize it. Mitch McConnell let it out the bag. I don't have his video right now. He let it out the bag. Mitch McConnell, and you can go look it up, in a press conference, said that black people, African Americans, exact words, African Americans vote at the same rate as Americans. So African Americans and Americans are separate. Now, if he had said African Americans and as same as white Americans, same as Latin Americans, same as Asian Americans, I get it. But he separated black from Americans and said, oh, black Americans vote different, vote the same rate as Americans. Then I started going back and watching videos of when Republicans bring up Americans this, Americans that, Americans believe. That's what the American people say. And I asked you, what do they mean by American people? Because they don't mean, based off of Mitch McConnell, black Americans. So Americans alone to them means white people. Go back and start listening to their conversations when they say stuff about certain parts of the world. I always wonder when they say Americans, I'm like, I don't believe that way. So what Americans are you talking about? They're talking about the white nationalist Americans when they say American. When they're talking about patriotic, they're definitely talking about, they believe, white people or who believes like them. And I realize that everybody kind of separates Americans just from everything else. The norm, the default, when people say American, I think of everybody that lives in America. They don't. They're literally thinking about the white people that live in America. Everybody else is a subsector of Americans. When in reality, if you know the history of this country, the native and indigenous people are the only ones who are just American. Everybody else is an immigrant or forced immigrant into this country. But somehow we've come all this time because of colonization that the norm, that the default is white. We must know our history and realize the truth. The facts are the facts. Your feelings don't matter unless you're trying to deal with the facts. You can have all, like I said before, me being like overweight or whatever, I am. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to myself and say, oh, you know, no, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to make my life better. This country needs to go through the truth so that it can become a better country to live in. Everybody wants people to forget all the negative, forget the past. We don't forget the past. We just celebrated V-Day, right? Or D-Day. We just celebrated that recently, right? That's the past. Do we forget it? We're never going to forget the men who went over there and lost their lives in the war, World War II. We're not going to forget that. Why do you ask anybody else to forget what was going on back then? We only want to say forget stuff that's painful, that wasn't like the greatest America could be. Oh, forget it. Forget it. But nobody tells anybody to forget the Holocaust, even though it didn't happen in America. It happened over in Germany. Nobody tells anybody to forget, like women's suffrage. Although we're going to talk about that because somehow we are starting to regress America. And it's sad that it is the one party that's trying its best to take us back to 18 something. And we're going to discuss that in a little bit. But what's up, Paul Smith? Once Jim Crow back. Yeah, I saw that. Now, we just saw Marjorie Taylor Greene have her little rant. But even in her rant, she mentions what the American people want. I'm sorry, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you don't represent the Americans. You represent the Americans in your particular sector where you live at, where you're from, Georgia. But you don't represent America, because America on a majority level doesn't believe you're sane enough to make any kind of logical decisions. Most of the times when she is asking questions, it is sad that even the Republican Party, which has lost its way gigantically, thinks that she's crazy. How does a party that has lost its way, you have to be extremely off your rocker for a party that has lost its way to think you're off your rocker. She does represent. What's happening, Paul? Knowing the facts helps us progress. Thank you, Lauren. Progress, with facts, we progress. Again, we must go through the pain in order to be able to receive the pleasure. There's no way. If we get hurt, it's not like if you fell and scarred your knee, you're not healed tomorrow. And if you ignore it, it might turn into something worse. Instead of doing, ignoring it, we must face it. We must do something to heal it. We must rehabilitate it in order to become whole again. This country has not been whole. We have been keeping this wound open the entire hundreds of years. And every time it's talked about, certain people get all butthurt and they want the wound to close without ever giving it any kind of ointment, without ever trying to heal it. They want you to forget it. And it goes through more than just racism. Women's suffrage. They want you to forget it. They want you to go back to being barefoot and pregnant and in the house doing whatever a man tells you to do. You don't believe me? Why did they just take your rights away for having children? Decide when your family wants it. No, the government now is in your bedroom telling you what you can and cannot put on before you have intercourse. What you can and cannot take after you're done. And we look at this and say, this is America? Really? The party of small government has somebody sitting in my house, basically, checking to see if I put something, a contraceptive, on prior to, or took one prior to having a relations, and then wanting to jail me. How would you jail me unless my doctor told you what I did? Now my doctor information is given to the government willy-nilly for no reason, just because they want to intrude on my life. That's big government. That's not small government. It's like the world is topsy-turvy. It's like, wait a minute. I thought you were the party of small government. Only when it comes to finances. I don't want you taking my money. But when it comes to controlling women's lives, oh yeah, I'm for it. Hell yeah. So you are conservative or with cash or something, but with people, you're like, I want big government for that. It is insane. I just don't get it. It's as big as it gets, right? So we're gonna go to this next video, and this next video, which we're gonna play. Let me get over here. Is not her, Byron. Byron Donald. It may be with an S. Donalds, whatever. Byron. He had this to say. And I don't know exactly when it was, but it wasn't that far away. I think it may have been at the latest. It may have been last year sometime. But he was in Pennsylvania. Supposedly the group were black Republicans, or people wanting to hear about what the black Republican platform is, I guess. And this is what he had to say. We're gonna listen to it in full, because his gripe is that people took it like a segment of it and didn't get it in full context. I want you to receive the full context, and then we're going to break them down here in a second.
With my mom. My dad and my mom, things didn't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro,
you guys hear this?
I don't know what happened.
I can't hear it.
But you my father and I love you.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Wow.
But I'm going to tell you this. Growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to my son.
Wow.
And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, and I say it because it's my contemporaries, it's Wesley's contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people be married in homes, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, now wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids? It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth.
Okay. We're about to, let me see if I can get this out here, but there we go. So, let's discuss this for a second. This man compared the Jim Crow era as saying that black men were in the home, and therefore it was a safe home, and therefore marriage was or divorce, better yet, was low. Marriage was like, something that was a higher percentage. He said better at one point, and he kind of took it back and just said that it was more marriages and husbands in the home and safer. See, I don't have a problem with the idea of saying fathers being in the home can be a better situation for some. I don't have a problem with people saying that. That's their own belief about certain things. But when you bring in the factual part of this, you have to understand there are many things at play just in that speech alone. A lot of people don't understand the strategy of a politician. There is strategy in it, and Republicans do it better than Democrats. And when I mean better, it's still a horrific thing, but they're good at this horrific thing. The horrific thing is to mention things in threes or more. If you account this interview or his actual speech he gave at this function, he says Jim Crow 3 times. As a politician, a reason doing that is he wants that to stick in the minds of the people in the audience. There's a purpose for that speech, and that is to get you to think about life is better with the wife in the home, and our ancestors in that era, Jim Crow era, knew better, so that he could move forward and tell you what? That it was Democrats that created like the welfare system that destroyed the black home, and therefore getting back to the same stereotype that black people are on welfare and we don't have people in the home because these systems were created to take the husband out of the home, so forth and so on. Democrats are the problem. While there is some truth to the system being created and being weaponized against black people to this day even, the facts bear out that there are more by the millions of white people on welfare than any other race. But yet it has the stigma of black folk on it. Why? Because welfare was created specifically for white people. No one else. Black people couldn't partake in it when it first came out. It wasn't even called like welfare. It's called something else. I'll give the name of it right now. But it was all about helping because it happened right after the big crash in the 20s or whatever. After that happened, they started creating a system somewhere around the 30s that would help the poor white people subsidize what they had lost. Black people couldn't partake in it. That's how the welfare system created. It was created. It was specifically for white people, no one else. They had all these different ads and promotions with posters of poor white people and feeling bad for the white person who done lost everything because of, the big economy crash, and we got to get them back on their feet. But when it was ready to help white people get back on their feet, this program was not demonized. The moment black people and people of color were allowed to get in this en masse, it all of a sudden became a problem. Go look it up. Don't just listen to me. Go look up the facts. Go look them up. That's how the welfare system was created. It was originally for white people, no one else. They had no problem creating that. So his structure was to bring up Jim Crow and mention it 3 times because he had a plan. In order for him to get to the blaming of Democrats for the welfare system, he had to go back and say that it was better for the black home in that era. So he had to mention Jim Crow because he couldn't get his point across unless he did. It was already planned what he was going to say. That structure had already been said in his head in front of a mirror for months. This wasn't the top of the dome conversation he had. This was, how can I persuade people? Mention it 3 times, then move on to the people who created a system that he believes, the Democrats, that caused the welfare system, and blame them for the reason why black people aren't in the home. He skipped over the fact of the crack era where they started arresting us, even if it was, most people try to give that to President Clinton. That shit started way back with Nixon. It just increased with Clinton. But it was increasing the entire time. Nixon did it. Reagan did it. All of them had programs to imprison black people. Watch a documentary called 13 or 13th. One of the two. Watch that. You'll see This had been in plan for a long time. They like to blame it on one president. No, I blame it on white people, regardless of party, because the Democrats did it and the Republicans did it, but the Republicans started it. That does not negate the fact that Democrats followed through on it. So it's not one party that deserves that. It is us knowing the facts and learning that things happened in the past, but what do you have planned for my future? The hell with what happened. What are you going to do now to fix it? And I'm sorry, Republicans never have a plan to fix anything. Their plan is to give you money back through tax cuts and cause problems with the next administration, because every time they leave office, inflation goes up. Why? Because they spend too much money and talk about being conservative, and the next thing you know, we don't have a budget, our deficits are through the roof, and you feel like you have money in your pocket. Why? Because he gave it away. You can't run a household where whenever you and your family get a surplus, you end up giving it to everybody else. Think about your own home. If you have a surplus of money, do you save it for bad times? Or do you give a tax cut and give everybody in the family $10,000 and then leave your bank broke? You got to think about the way our government works is like if it's your own bank account. You don't want our government to be broke, because when shit hits the fan, they need a surplus to be able to take care of us. It's a we thing, not a me thing. And one party treats it like it's their own bank account, that they can go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to take all this money out and start investing it all over the place and never pay it back. And the other party is like, you know what? I'm going to get money and I'm going to invest it to the black community. I'm going to invest it to the Latin community, the LGBTQIA community, you know, the people who are disabled community. We're going to try and solve cancer. We're going to try and solve, you know, problems with the earth and shit like that. We're going to try and, you know, make sure that we have renewables so that we can have power without having to use fossil fuels. That one's always, we're going to build bridges and shit. The other one's like, can I have some money? Daddy, can I have some money? Daddy, can I have some money? Shut the hell up. Quit asking for money all the damn time. Fix the damn problems. You got your house falling apart and you're sitting here talking about going and buy a new TV instead of buying a new roof. Democrats want to buy a new roof so we can live under. Republicans want to go out and buy a new motherfucking Tesla. That's the way they think. Give me money so I can go buy shit. And they call themselves conservative. That's bullshit. How can you be conservative, always wanting money and never trying to fix nothing that's falling the fuck apart? Can't tell me that's what you want and then say, oh, yeah, I'm for the people. No, you're not. You for you. I have never met a Republican that gave a damn about anybody but themselves. They never have a plan for anybody. They never have a plan for something. And if they do have it and it's passed while they're president, it's because the damn House and the Senate were Democrat and ended up pushing it and they had to sign it. It's rare that Republicans come up with something to help the people. You got a party right now talking about vengeance is mine. I ain't worried about your vengeance. Quit fucking up. You don't need to have vengeance. It's amazing to me how some people can just get into office, have all that power, and don't do anything illegal. And then have people who get in and do illegal shit back to back to back, and everybody makes excuses because they want vengeance for some reason. Vengeance for what? What has somebody done to you? Nothing. They've done everything to this nut because he deserves it. And these people out here, vengeance is mine. What do you need vengeance for, dude? You got more money in your bank now than you've ever had. And we judge that by, as soon as he got convicted, all of a sudden y'all got $70-something million, $100 million to give him, but you broke. Shit don't make no sense, y'all. People make shit up. They make it up, and somehow humans believe in it. I'm like, go do your research. You're broke, but somehow you have a surplus to give a man who's a billionaire $70 million in 24 hours. Who's broke if you can do that? Go out into the streets and realize that when COVID was around, there was hardly anybody on the streets. And now look at the streets. Everybody's all over the place. If you broke, how you paying for gas? How's your car running? I've learned something throughout my 53 years in life. There are people who are the consummate victim. The consummate, like, woe, it's me. And no matter who's president, they have never done enough for them. Your president is not your savior. Your president is not somebody you're supposed to like look at and say, you know, oh my God, I need you to save me. Put on your cape and come help me out. No. When a president comes into office, you have 2, 3, 4 things that you want for you and your community. And you work hard to get those 3 or 4 things passed for each presidency. You have to have a plan for your community that you can get it changed. And if you ain't got no plan for your community, what are you bitching and moaning about? You didn't get this or that. Did you fight for it? No, you didn't. You just voted and expected the shit to happen. You didn't get committees. Pay attention to how Republicans do stuff. They have like the Turning Point USA, saying the most egregious and idiotic things you've ever heard in your life. But millions upon millions are poured into them to get millions of people to believe in their BS. What do Democrats have? They don't have those type of platforms to go out there and tell everybody that's disgruntled how to work their government in a productive way so that their communities can get what they need and that they can feel satisfied that their government is working for them. They don't even know how their government works. They just want to log complaint after complaint. If you ever worked in the hospitality industry, you always have somebody coming down and saying the hot water is at 35 degrees. I'm like, okay, we'll fix that. And 30 minutes later, you know what? My pillow's not crisp enough. Take your ass to another hotel, man. What do you want from us? Always complaining. Find 500 great things and find 2 things to be pissed off about. And never mention the great things, harbor on the 1 or 2 things that aren't good. It's just insane to me. Solve a problem. Stop always bitching about the problem. How can you fix it? Throw out some solutions. That's how you fix it. Then get people behind it. That's how you fix it. Get your community to say, hey, we do need our roads taken care of. Then your community comes together, knock on some doors and say, hey, look, I my axle did this because I'm hitting that pothole. Oh, really? You too? Okay, cool. Come together. Instead of giving your money to a politician, go and fix the pothole with the community money. Make complaints, lodge complaints. Start suing the city. Make some fucking differences. Quit bitching and moaning and not doing anything to fix it except for making another fucking complaint. For every complaint you give 5 solutions. Something's wrong, think 5 solutions before you tell somebody there's a problem. Give them an option. You want to make a complaint, no option. You think they're going to figure it out? It's your problem. They didn't even think about it until you brought it to them, and you ain't got no solution for them. Think logically, people. Please think logically. And I ain't necessarily talking about you. I'm just talking about the people who are like that. So you know if it's not you, it's not you. But that's what happens when you talk about like a Byron Donalds here talking about what our community, you know, like this man literally said that as black people, our families were better when the man was at home in that era. Jim Crow. And our sister Joy Reid, if you watched the readout, she broke him down. I love how she broke him down. She gave the definition of what Jim Crow era was all about. And he was talking about, and well, she talked about, you know, the black father had no power in the Jim Crow era. He talked about, in that conversation, he talked about the black people voted conservatively. We've been conservatives. than in the Jim Crow era. Well, sir, could you please define why you brought up Jim Crow? Why didn't you bring up in the North the black person voted conservatively? You brought up Jim Crow to compare the two, but it's not the Jim Crow that was conservative, because in Jim Crow, they weren't allowed to vote. They were killed if they voted, harmed if they voted. And even when they started getting close to it, because Jim Crow went from like the 1868 or something like that, or 1860 something, all the way up to 1968. We had water fountains that says blacks only or whites only. No Mexicans or dogs. And this dude wants to bring up the past. See, again, these conservatives think something about the past was greater than it is today. I don't understand that. I understand many of us, even myself, has a nostalgia about my past. I have a show on TikTok. I do music, old school music, because that music attaches me to the people I love who are long gone, some of them. And when we used to sit around and listen to music as kids and so forth, not having to deal with the political world whatsoever. Our parents had to, and they kept it away from us, and they let us enjoy life. And while they went through struggles and pain and strife, they tried to make our lives happy. And we had fun playing jacks and jump rope and all that. I get the nostalgia of the past when it comes to family, but the structure of power was horrific. There is nothing to look in the past and say it was better than it is today when it comes to the rights of people. Back in those days, gay people was easily murdered just by walking outside. Now they can walk outside, hold hands, kiss, have a family, get married. And you want to tell me sometime in the history it was better for them? This is why I say when they say Americans, they aren't meaning anybody but their conservative, jaded human beings that they call Americans. But when you talk about all Americans, I'm sorry. There is no better time than now. And if we don't get it together, there ain't going to be a better time than now. They're trying to take us back to the worst part of our country. There's nostalgia of your family and growing up, riding a bike without a helmet, getting on the back of a truck without a seatbelt, all these types of things when you were a kid that you had fun and enjoyed. Yes, I get it. Climbing trees and all that. Nowadays it's all computers. I get that part. But the politics of it, the day-to-day life was hell. So you're fawning over just a hellish life back in the day to get a point across about today. There's something about today you don't like. And I'm going to get into what they really don't like. They ain't going to tell you what they really don't like. I'm going to get into it just by listening to what they say. Now that one, I was going to give you more of a conversation between Byron and our sister Joy Reid, but I'm not. I'm going to let that fly. I'm going to go straight to the facts of what they want. What they want. And that's going to come from Turning Point USA, Jason Whitlock. Just happened like December or something like that, 2023. 6-7 months ago? Let's get it. See if it plays. Is it playing? No, it's not. That's the wrong one. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. There we go.
They have recreated this history that, oh, God, it was all just sexism, and we didn't have the right to vote until Susan B. Anthony and the women's suffrage movement. And I will defend life before suffrage, because a vote used to represent the family. When we were a culture that really valued family and really understood the natural order that God intended, man serving God, woman following man who serves God, man and woman developing and nurturing children. You only needed one vote per household, because that vote was about the entire family, as they have destroyed our family structure and made this all an individual pursuit. Now everybody has to have a vote, and everybody has an agenda that a lot of times has nothing to do with family. The risks and the sacrifices that men made for the advancement of this country and for the benefit of all of us. I can't say these weren't things that women were uninterested in, but they were certainly fine with men being roughnecks and going up on skyscrapers to build hotels and high-rises and fall to their death or injury.
Take care, Paul Smith.
Because that was the role that men played, and we knew that was our responsibility. The life expectancy for a woman is 7 to 9 years longer than a man in America. That's a reflection of our sacrifice as men. We have not cut. Now, I'm not saying everything was perfect, because it was not perfect. But we have not cut women a bad deal in this country. We are imperfect. Our country has been imperfect. But those of us that are believers and were believers, and the people that put together those founding documents and established this country, made incredible sacrifices that we all benefit from, and we should all have an incredible amount of gratitude towards. That is the true narrative as it relates to men and women in America.
All right. Hopefully you guys listened to that and heard what Jason Whitlock said. What Jason Whitlock just espoused is what chauvinistic, Republican-minded men believe. When people like myself, not just me, but many people out there, I don't want to bring up anybody's name because I let them take responsibility for their own thoughts and things of that nature. But many men and women, specifically of color, told people, you vote along with these Republicans, they're going to take your right away. Roe v. Wade, they've been talking about it. They're going to take it away if you allow this guy into office. Hillary Clinton said that over and over again, and you guys voted to put that maniac in power. You lost your rights to your bodily autonomy because you decided you choose this guy over your own body. And black people were telling y'all that, screaming it from the top of their fucking lungs. And you still didn't listen. Black people know when racist white men are about to fuck your life up. If we know anything more than anybody, is we know racist white people better than most people know themselves. When they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are going to do it. It is not something you toy with. You just don't mention things and don't do them. You mention them to see if people will go crazy or will they start to accept it. You mention it in threes, they start to think about it when they don't know you. Oh, you're nowhere around. They start thinking about it. Oh, okay. That's because it's all messing with your mind on what to believe and what not to believe. If I start talking about dictatorships like Trump has, and he'll mention it once here, once there. If you listen to his speeches, when he does say it, he'll mention it like 3 times. It is a game. It is a strategy. One that most people don't recognize because nobody ever taught you how to do it unless you became a speaker of some sort or a politician. So they keep on putting it in your head. this is going to work. This is going to work. They talked about taking away your rights, meaning Roe v. Wade. Now they're talking about taking away your right to vote. You heard those people clapping, women screaming, when Jason Whitlock was talking about women should basically be barefoot and pregnant in the home, and with all the fighting, and if you know what women's suffrage is, it's when women fought in 1920 to get the 19th Amendment passed so that women could vote and have a voice in this country that they deserve. If they can be able to bear the children who will come out and vote, I'd be damned if a woman can produce a man but can't have the same rights as that motherfucker. It behooves me. These fools think that they make better decisions than women. I'm sorry. I was raised by a woman. She made better choices than my father did by far. By far. And you want to tell me just because that person is a man, they're supposed to be smarter? The facts don't bear out. The most educated person in the world is a black woman. And you're going to sit there and try and tell me some idiot ass man going to be better than the black woman making a better decision. And not to say that all men are idiots. Don't give me that. I'm just saying, if women are the most educated black women, how is it that you think you're going, oh, let me marry her up real quick and make one decision for the house? You see how far they want to go back? That they're at conferences telling the everyday people, I know this is kind of taboo, but once you start hearing it over and over again, you're going to get women voting for this. Why? Because you got a man telling them, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. Give me your vote. Give me your vote. And then you're going to lose the right to vote. You lost the right to be able to do whatever you want to do with your body. And now, to lose your right to vote is what they're trying to do. And the thing that kills me is Byron Donalds is in on this. And don't forget, Clarence Thomas said they should revisit not only this. He said we need to revisit the Loving case, which means that Byron Donalds' marriage would be illegal. And so would Clarence Thomas's. I mean, you talk about people who have hatred just for humanity. How can you want to overturn something that if it wasn't overturned, you would have never, if it's overturned, you and your wife have to separate. Your kids may be jailed because they are illegal. If you know anything about that era in which these things happened, the children could be arrested, taken away from the family if the father was white or the mother was white. Same thing with apartheid. You couldn't walk down the street with a white child or a very light-skinned child without people, the law, doing something to you that did not have murder or death as not an option. It was an option. How is any of this good? How is any of this making America great again? I don't understand how people can have this mantra in their head and not realize that there has never been a better time in this country than now. And even now we're fighting to keep the rights that we died for. Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, so many others died for these rights, fought for these rights. And racist white men are trying to take them away. And they're getting help by many people through what? Through small ideas that become larger. Give you an example. Affirmative action. Edward Bloom just stopped a program that was built for black or designed for black women and BIPOC women who don't get invested in. Right? And this fund that they had gave millions to black and BIPOC women because these white organizations that have the most money to invest less than 1% into black people, period. The highest that black women have received is 0.38% of the funds. So these women got a fund together. Now, there's not just all black people's money. It is also from rich billionaires who said they came to them and said, look, on average, black people get less than 1%. White women got 2.2%. White men get over 90%. 85 to 90%. That's not the. Why would it stop? No doubt the stream went in shortly unless you restart it in your streaming software. Why would it stop? I'm sorry, guys. It's like. For some reason, it disconnected. I don't know. But hopefully it's back. Hopefully it's back. I don't know what's going on. All right. So the streaming disconnected. Okay, we're back. Good. I don't know exactly where I was at. I'm sitting here just trying to get everything back together. But anyway, black women got less than 1%, 0.38%. So they went to these billionaires, white billionaires, and said, hey, we believe that black women and women of color could be able to be productive and have better businesses than these traditional white VCs are saying that we just aren't capable, we're not just ready. We believe that that's a racist process. They're keeping us out. So these justifiable, and nice individuals who decided, okay, we're going to test it out. We're going to put money aside. Go ahead, VC, black VC, prove us wrong. So they gave them money to go invest solely into black women or BIPOC women. And they did so. And it was highly successful. But this Edward Bloom, who got rid of affirmative action for colleges with this Asian kids, which split the Asian community big time because many of the Asian people knew that it was a positive thing for them that they also benefited from affirmative action. But that's neither here nor there. So this Edward Bloom just ended that through a court situation saying that it was against rules or laws that, helping out one particular race over another. And I'm like, they used the laws that were used to give people of color opportunities because racist white people wouldn't give it to them against people of color and black women and said it's wrong to do so. And it's like, but this law was created so that we could give black women and black people and Latin people and Asian people opportunities that racist people decided they were never going to give them, or were going to give them in a small percentage that would never help them economically. And the courts, being conservative, thanks to Donald Trump, decided to put a halt on that program. Why would this man be chasing down black women with a fund that's helping BIPOC women, mostly black women though, with funds from white people who are billionaires who also believe that this needs to be done and it's a just thing to do, but yet with conservative judges, they turn the spigot off. For what? For racism's sake. Why don't you turn that ire against the white organizations that only invest less than 1%, 0.38, the last one for black women that's stated, percent. Why don't you go to them and say they make up more than 0.38% of the community, so why don't you give them black people a percentage like you would do any other race or maybe yet white race? You're giving them like 80, 90%. It's not 80, 90% white people that make up America. So if we want to deal with this with any kind of fairness, then you have to give them opportunities because you're on purpose not giving them opportunities. And the reason why we know this is because it's already a case study, already proven. These women, via this fund, started creating wealth. You passed on them. White VCs, you said they weren't ready. They proved that they were. They just needed opportunity. And for these conservative judges to not see that tells you it's not about fairness. It's about white power. And that white power isn't even focused on white women. White women, they want you subservient. What Jason Whitlock is saying is that they want to go back to one person making a decision for your household. If Johnny is 18, if your daughter's 22 still living in the home, you 45 living in the home, and your husband 47 living in the home. When the president election come up and the Senate and the dog catcher, Dad makes a decision. Y'all just sit there. How many of y'all agree what your dad believes in? Your dad, born in 1969, 1970, has a certain type of mentality that a kid born in 20 or 2000 or 2004 doesn't have. You have a more level head. He has a more stubborn head. Him making the decisions for everybody is asinine. You might as well go back to cave days. And they're trying to push this agenda. They're trying to tell you that this was a better time. This is a warning to all of y'all. These people are not going away. If you're not fighting against them, they're winning. I know it's tiring. Trust and believe. I'm worn out most days having to listen to their nonsense. It's like having a child that just screams all the time. You can't stop it, but it's just there and there and there and there, and you can't do nothing about it. And when that child goes to sleep, you're like, oh, thank God. And when I stop hearing what they're saying, I'm like, oh, thank God. But I know the next day I'm going to wake up and hear them screaming again, nonsense on top of nonsense on top of nonsense. And it's all easily debunked by looking up the facts. I implore you, look up these facts. Do not listen to them. Do not. They are lying to you. Majorly, they are lying to you. They don't care about your life. They want power. And the more you remain unaware of what the hell is going on, the better. These people are like demons in the dark. They're trying to steal your life form. And as long as you just stick around and do nothing, they're taking it away from you. I am a father of two, a daughter and a son. To know that my daughter does not have the same rights as her grandmother is despicable to me. And to believe that there are women out there that are okay with this, to me, is like, oh my God. How much disrespect do you have for yourself, for your own kind? To think that a man makes a better decision just because he's a man and not because he's educated or he actually thought it through is crazy to me. We've come so far to realize that each individual person is their own person. You came into this world by yourself, and more than likely you're going to leave it by yourself. And the choices you make in life should not be anybody else's but your own. And for some man to think that he owns your vote just because he has a unit, just because he claims this thing male, is insane to me. My mother is one of the strongest people that I've ever met. And if I had to rely on my mom's decision or my dad's decision, I damn sure well would have took my mom's decision 1,000,000 times before I took my dad's. And for you to tell me you're going to take her rights away, we're going to fight. We're going to fight for that. I'm 100% for women's rights. 100%. Their struggle is real. But I'm going to tell you, if you ain't going to fight for your rights, don't expect us to fight harder than you should be fighting. I'm going to fight at the level that I fight at all the time. I believe in facts. I believe in the truth. I believe in doing the right thing. And the right thing is that each individual has a right to be him or herself. You don't have a right to put any kind of rules on me other than don't break the laws, don't harm and kill anybody. But other than that, stop making laws about our bodies. Because trust and believe, karma's a bitch. Keep messing around with women and let them come into power. And let a female Trump come into power. Y'all gonna get castrated for not taking care of your kids or doing some of the things that some men out there doing, raping people and doing all kind of sexual assault. Yeah, certain countries would dismember you. But there's never a law in America trying to harm a man for doing something like that. It's always the women. And you want women to give power to y'all when y'all make stupid decisions like this. I'm going to make a plea to women out there. Don't allow them to take your rights. I don't care what party you belong to. Stop listening to the noise and start appreciating the rights you have. Go back in history and find out what life used to be like for y'all. Quit thinking just because you like a man being in control and you like the man, coming home and bringing home the bacon and that type of mentality. That ain't it. That ain't it. I don't care if you like that shit. That ain't what they talking about. I understand women who like their man to be like the person in power and they don't have to do a lot of things, making decisions for the family. They rather do certain things. I understand people having that mentality, but that's not it, yo. He said he likes life before women's suffrage, before the suffrage. You got to understand. Go look at the history of women prior to them getting the right to vote. This man also talked about the marriage percentage being high. Do you know how many women went crazy in their marriages back then? Do you know that the men had the right back then to put their wives in an insane asylum just because they raised their voices at them? They called it hysteria. Yeah. If you finally got fed up and said, you know what? You've been cheating on me and this, get the hell out of my house, blah, 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 blah. He could literally go to the police and say she is hysterical and she needs to be in an insane asylum. They would come with the police and strap her into a white jacket and take her to some mental institution while this man would take up another woman and move on with his life. That's what you're talking about. Don't let this shit be wrapped up in candy when it's a piece of shit. Learn the truth. Exactly, was it Butterfly? You were forced into marriages. These same Republicans, and not all of them, but just the sector, because they're so open nowadays to say whatever they want. Go look it up. I don't know his name, but this Republican was in his state Senate or state house, whatever it was. You can look it up on YouTube, I'm sure, or Google. He said about girls who got pregnant via being raped of some sort, that because these girls are in their prime and fertile, that a better choice other than abortion is to marry that child off to their rapist. Are they insane? That literally came out of his mouth on the floor with no problem saying it. I'm like, huh? And to like no real like anger and dismay or get the hell up off the mic. None of that. They are trying to dismantle you, ladies. And I'm going to tell you why. They're afraid of you. You didn't start getting these rights until like 1920. And now the average woman is more educated than the average man. And now the average woman is starting to create more businesses and jobs than the average man at a higher rate. They're having their own businesses, even if they're small businesses. They're having their own businesses, multiple. They're becoming content creators, not just okay content creators, excellent content creators. You scare them, these type of men, because they don't understand how you're rising and they can't catch up. He talked about you guys, ladies, producing children and being the maternal part of it and raising our youth. So that's supposed to be just your job. I want them to know that those women that you speak of are not monolithic. They're superhuman, I believe. These women not only can start their own businesses while raising their kids, sometimes by themselves, being productive, their kids being smart and productive, starting businesses with their children. They did it without you, and that's what makes you afraid. You want to put a man in the house just because he has the Y chromosome or whatever. The hell with that. Are you productive? Are you a good father? There's a lot of people who have fathers in the home who just aren't good fathers. You telling me that's a better family, that you got the father in the house who's destructive as opposed to the woman who doesn't have the father that's productive? Get the hell up out of my face. For girls in New Hampshire, it's just crazy, Butterfly. So to me, I look at it this way. If you don't start to become active and stop allowing men to tell you what to do with your life, it's okay for y'all to be in your home and have your own structure. But I'm sorry. If a man is trying to tell you that he's going to vote for you, he knows what's best for you, you need to check yourself on that. Because there's no man that knows best than a woman knows about her own damn self. If you know best for me, when's my period coming? And how am I going to handle it? You don't know? I thought you knew what was best for me. How often do I got to go get a pap smear? I thought you knew what was best for me. What do I need to take for a yeast infection? I thought you knew what was best for me. You can't even answer these menial ass questions. And you know what's best for me. It's idiotic. It's arrogant. It's stupid. That woman knows exactly what the hell you need. And not only does she know it, she'll buy it before you need it. And somehow you're better than her. She's got 5 plans ahead of you before you come up with one. And you make the decisions. How about this, Jason Whitlock? How about the woman be the only one who votes in the house? And your ass sits around and do whatever the fuck she tells you to do. Oh, you don't want to do that? It's the family one vote, right? She gets it. You don't. She's smarter than you. She's more equipped than you. The stats prove it. Oh, you don't want that. Why? You think your machismo makes you better. You think your unit makes you better. You think your chromosome makes you better? She's proven factually you're not. You're hurt because she's proving that you want to rest on your laurels and think that just because you're a man, you're better. She had to listen to that for decades upon decades and go out and prove she knows what the hell she's doing. You're just mad that you weren't man enough to allow women to do that. Instead, you want to hinder them because you don't want to be outshined. Well, it's too late. Cat's out the bag. She's better than you. And she's humble enough to allow you to think that you are sufficient. That's the way I see it, bro. And in my life, no matter how much I understand that I am a man, I'm factual. Is every woman that way? No. But every woman, to me, the man in their lives, they're almost always better than the man in their lives. Because they actually care. They have been trained since birth on how to not only take care of themselves, but everybody around them. And they do it effortlessly. They make it look easy. And the moment they're no longer there, it's like rocket science for you to do. So that tells me that obviously they got something better than you if it's hard for you to do something they do every day with ease. I just keep it factual. Now, in 34 out of 40 counties have 0 OBGYNs. Yeah, I know, they're just messing up people's lives. And this is where we got to vote, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care who you are. Vote. It doesn't have to be your party. Vote for the actual laws and the people who believe in the things that you want. If you want your life to go back to 1800 and you want to be like Laura Ingalls Wilder, having your kids get married by the time they're 13 and an old maid by the time she's 16, and have a man determine when and where she lay her head and how she lays it and when she cooks and cleans. If you want that, then vote that. But if you want your life to be better, you got to stop voting for these fools that keep telling you that that's where they want to take your life. Don't be sitting here thinking, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just saying things that just egg people on. No, they're saying what they believe. You're the one that's not taking it seriously, thinking it's a joke. Nobody jokes about that shit. It's not locker room talk. It's not. It's real shit. And if you're not recognizing that, you deserve what you get. And that's the thing for me is like this. If the majority of people, no matter what they are, women, black people, Latin people, there are things that you want for your communities. And if you choose in mass to vote for things that destroy your community, and once your community is being destroyed, shut up about it. You asked for it. You voted for it. I don't want to hear it. We told you what's going to happen. It's so crazy how black people kind of know what people are trying to do. Why? Because our culture has been the culture that has had to take the brunt of all these evils for centuries. We recognize it. And when we tell you shit, we ain't telling you. If it's your community and it's that you're going through, why the hell will we be sitting here telling you, warning light, warning light? It doesn't affect us as much as it affects you. We're just letting you know. Look at that warning. Why would we be telling you that? What do we benefit from helping your community? We're doing it because we're letting you know this has happened to us before. Warning, it's about to happen to you. It ain't gonna happen. Then when it happens, help. No, we already helped you. Why don't you do something for once? Why don't you listen to people who've already been through it? We're not lying to you. What do we stand to gain? Nothing. We want it to be right. The people who are black that understands what we've been through as a people, we want to fix it. We ain't try to ride with the people that fucked it up. That's why you'll see that The majority, and this is what gets me to it before we get out of here. One of the things that gets to me is that people say, especially Republicans, conservative Republicans, black Republicans, they'll say, I'm a free thinker. No, you're not. No, you're not. Understand what free thinking is all about. When you're a free thinker, that means you're thinking about a process without somebody else's input. You're learning from multiple sources and coming up with an educated understanding of it and an educated decision. When you ride or die with party, you're not a free thinker. When you go to Donald Trump's case all wearing the same clothes, you're a free thinker? You can't be a free thinker and be a part of a clan that does the same shit, that says the same shit, that rehearses the same talking points. That's not a free thinker. A free thinker looks at Republicans, Democrats, independents, look at the laws that they're trying to pass and say, look, that law ain't for me. That law is. I don't know which party actually presented that, but I'm down for that. That's a free thinker. Thinking along party lines on everything is not a free thinker unless that party benefits everything that you want. And when they say, oh, I'd rather have this happen than that happen, I'm like, okay, that sounds good to me. But a free thinker is not somebody just because they don't go with Democrats and all. You'll hear that shit from Republicans. And I want you to understand that it's a ploy to make you feel like, to bully you into believing that they are doing the right thing. You believe what they believe. You're a sheep. You're that. And then all they want you to do is to feel bad. So therefore you jump ship and come over to their sheep nation. The sheep is a person that's sitting here joining something without educating themselves because you want to be a part of this particular group of people. That's the sheep. And so when I tell you to go find your own facts, I ain't telling you to come over to my herd. I'm telling you the facts first. Look them up. Don't just trust what I say. Don't trust what they say. I learn who I roll with politically or anything else by listening to them, researching what they say, and find out who's telling me the truth. And this is what I've learned. Go learn it on your own. The Democrat Party has told me more truths than lies than the Republican Party has told me. I can listen to a Republican, or I turn on Fox and, I'm working my ass off. I'm looking at Fox for y'all, so to get facts too. So, you know what I mean? I'm doing my thing, but I do it so you don't have to, but I ask you to do it anyway. But I'll listen to them. And I mean back to back to back to back lie. I mean, and confident with it. And I'm like, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a half truth. That's a lie. And I'm like, your whole show was lies. And then I'll watch CNN or MSNBC, and I'll look at it and I'll say, that's a truth. That's a truth. That's a truth. That's a lie. You let that lie get through. You didn't combat that lie. You let that shit fly. That's not true. That's a half truth. There'll be a big percentage of truths on those stations mixed with some other shit. People they allow on their show to say certain lies and they just let it fly. But when you do the research, I ask you to do that. Go watch Fox and listen to them talk about the state of this country, and then actually go research those 5-6 things, and you'll see how many lies they spewed. Do the same with CNN, MSNBC. 5 things that you were interested in that they talked about. Go find out the truth. I guarantee you'll find out Republicans lie in droves more than anybody else. They hide the truth often. Everybody will be covering like what's going on. They'll be on the pet ducks and cars and houses and shit. You be like, what the fuck are they talking about? Everybody's on this story. They don't want to do it because it makes the Republicans look bad or Trump look bad. They won't even cover the story. It won't be on the news for the entire hour. You'd be like, how didn't you cover this main event? Because it makes them look bad. It took them getting sued $787 million as they settled to start debunking the BS whenever they heard a Republican say the election was stolen. We got to stop down for a second. The election was not stolen because we have to say this, because we'll go broke, because we lied for fucking years and told you that there was something wrong with the election, and this is what we have to say because our lawyers say we're going to get sued again if we don't. All right, what is the next question I'm going to ask him? They do that shit all the time now. Why? Because they lied to their community forever. And now they have to cover their ass because they don't want to go broke. Why didn't you just tell the truth from jump? That's the thing with me. I love the truth. And I won't allow anybody to lie to you. Because I wouldn't like to be lied to. I only want money for telling the truth and no lies. Debunking the lies. That's what I want to make my life off of. Debunking lies and telling the truth. For what they do is to make money off of lying to you because they know you're going to be drawn into this drama of these lies. That clickbait. Oh, I'm ready to call you out for it. It's just insane to me. Thank you guys for the likes. I appreciate it. And the gifts. I don't know if people gave me gifts, but thank you. I appreciate it. What's up, Georgia girl? I mean, what's going on, especially in my own people. You know what I mean? I don't really debate. Oh, you trust Google? It ain't about Google. See, this is the thing where people, and I don't know if people ask that question to you or not, if you're just being facetious, but what people don't understand is Google's a search engine. It's not about finding a fact. Google doesn't give you the facts. The facts come from the sources that Google opens up to you. And you have to have credible sources. It ain't about the search engine. It's about, if I type in how many black people were arrested, wrongfully arrested in 2019. I typed that into Google. It's the sources that I pick. It ain't Google's fault of the facts are not the truth. If I pick .gov, it's the actual facts. Whether it came from Google, DuckDuckGo, it doesn't matter the search engine. It's the source. Google is not the source. This is what people don't get. Google is not the source. That's the apparatus to find the sources. Google has nothing to do with fact or fiction. What has to do with fact is when you Google, you got millions of sources. But see, here's the problem. What happens with Google or DuckDuckGo and shit like that, you'll go to crazy stuff like, okay, type in Google. How many, who was the first president of the United States, whatever, right? You'll get .gov, History Channel, George Washington. 4 down, you got RepublicansKnowEverything.org, Conservative Media.media, Democratic this, that. You guys pick democraticmedia.gov or whatever the hell I say, .com. Of course it's going to be a jaded response. That has nothing to do with Google. It has everything to do with your poor choices of picking the resources. Get to places that have to tell the truth that will be fined if not, that will be sued if not. .govs, EDUs, these are colleges. These are great sources to find information that you can back up with other organizations. Stop watching these. And this is the thing I also tell people. Oftentimes when you're doing these research things and you go to these obscure websites that you go to that make you feel good. In the name, it makes you feel good. DemocratsOrUs.org. I'm a Democrat. I feel good about it. Who the hell owns that? For all you know, it is a Russian who owns that. And will tell you what you want to believe, what you already have pre-decided you believe. What do? There's an organization or the governing of websites. You can look it up. Like it's one called Who Is or Who.is. But you can say ICANN. That's the organization, ICANN. So I think they have a whois.icann.org or something like that. But look up Who Is. You'll find the source. You want to find one that's ICANN, ICANN. Now, that will have a search engine, so to speak. Look up the source. Like you ask the question on Google, whatever you go to, it'll tell you where that source came from. DemocratsOrUs.org. You'll go to whois, type in DemocratsOrUs.org. It will open up the public domain, and it will tell you where that actual source is from. Now, when earlier in 2015, 16, before like Russians and Malaysia and all these other countries started to hide it, they automatically tell you, oh, this was bought from Malaysia. This one's in Russia. Most of these Republican sites were coming from Russia. But it have an American thing, conservative network.media. And you thought, oh, it's conservative. And I had conservative friends I no longer have giving me this stuff like this is a fact. And I'm like, dude, where'd you get this shit from? And they, conservative media, I type it in. I'm like, dude, do you understand that resource came from Russia? You're listening to a Russia propaganda. Like, how do you know that? Because I looked up the name of the website and who bought it. A Russian person bought this. Hello? And they still didn't want to believe me. Why? Because they got suckered. They got suckered. And they don't want to admit I'm a sucker. You'd rather mess up your country over some Russian bullshit and rather than admit the truth you got suckered and omit that website from your life. Instead, you'd rather continue to get information from it. Why? Because you don't want to admit the truth. And make blue, please do phone banks test. What's up, Chris Ruth? I don't know. Please vet these websites. Exactly, Coco Slayer. Vet the websites. Know the truth. Thank you, Benny Loco. Know the truth. And that's what I'm an advocate for. You don't have to believe me. If something don't sound right, please go check it. I guarantee you, I am not making this shit up. I won't speak on something that I haven't already researched. And I don't have a problem learning something new because we can't all know everything. But we should be able to help each other find the foundation of fact. Like in here, they gave me the name of the 1935 Act that actually passed that had, when I mentioned earlier, about welfare was created for white people. It was called something else, Social Security Act, 1935. It wasn't created for black people. But yet, somehow, welfare is our thing. No, it was created for white people. Once we were involved in it, they allowed us to get the welfare that white people have been getting for like a decade or more. Then, or even a couple decades, because that came out in 1935. We weren't able to get it until like 1968. So 35 to 68, that's 33 years. White people were receiving welfare help while black people were just living on their own, trying to make it happen. They knew economically society was messed up, and they didn't even try to help black people. Most people don't know the history of welfare, and even to this day, and that's why I just went back to it. There are by the millions white people on welfare more than any other race, but yet though it has a black face to it, a black stigma to it. How? Because it's racist to even say that. I was just going back and looking at some things. They were born in the 1930s. Exactly. So, I mean, we have to tell the truth to one another. That's the only foundation that we have. Just started reading your message and moved on? Yeah, because I got to continue to move on. I don't know how to do that stuff right now. I'll read it when I'm done to get into it, when I'm having a conversation. But you know I read it, so that should be good enough to let me know that I can be paying attention to it down the road. It's not something that's going to be solved overnight or even addressed overnight. But, yeah, I get your point. They threw away the dog whistle, and now they use the bullhorn. Exactly. And I don't even know what state you're from. Oh, North Carolina. All right, but the entire thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys today was basically to deal with those particular issues that we had. One thing before I go, because I'm gonna talk a little bit about one of the problems that we have with some of the people, and I'm speaking for my community. I don't know anything about anybody else's so much, but the black community, and not all the black community, of course, but a sect of the black community that say they're going to vote for Donald Trump because of he gave them stimmies, and also because of, oh man, inflation's so high, the price of eggs, the price of this, the price of that. And that's your points for voting for a person who has fascist dreams. Thank you, Lauren. But I want you guys to understand the reason why we have inflation. This is going out to those people who believe in this stimmy stuff. If you think voting in Donald Trump that you're going to get your stimmy back, it ain't going to happen. So I don't quite understand the mentality of talking about a stimmy check and voting for somebody. He gave you money. So you think money's going to come flowing back into your life just because you vote for somebody who gave you a stimulus check. Let's remind you, Joe Biden gave you a stimulus check as well. I think it was like $1,400 as opposed to Trump's $1,200, but still, he only gave you one. I understand we got multiple under Donald Trump. He had to sign them, which he held off from helping people just so that he could throw his name on it and get you to believe, again, political games, that he himself paid you. It behooves me. It even hurts my brain to think that my people could be as stupid to believe that a man signing a check that's from the government that somehow came out of his bank. That to me, I was like, there's nobody who believe that shit. But there are black people literally saying it. And I'm sitting here like, okay, you do what you want with your vote. But stop making excuses that are stupid and act like it's something that's a logical choice you made. Stimulus checks are not coming back. Not going to happen. Inflation, price gouging. Come on, Butterfly, you know what's up. But I'm going to give people a quick understanding. Exactly. Nancy Pelosi put it in the House for us to be able to get this. You're educated. Now let's just break down with the people who aren't. When you talk about the inflation being high, how do you think that happened? You think Joe Biden caused the inflation? You think Donald Trump really caused the inflation? It is the processes in which they tried to help our people, Americans, that caused the inflation. It is the greed in America outweighing the need of Americans that caused the inflation. There are multiple tenets of why inflation rises. None of them is because you have a president. It's because of the policies often in which the president implements. And also because of certain things that happen in society. When the pandemic happened, 2019, you have to understand what happened to our economy. Our businesses started closing down. That was after March, I think, 13th, 2020. Businesses started closing down. People were working from home. Many people were fired and had to get unemployment. As that continued to go on, Nancy Pelosi and people in the House and Senate had to come up with a plan to how to subsidize this situation where the economy was going to go completely upside down if something wasn't done. So they had to infuse our economy with money to spend because, again, there were certain things like products that were not being able to be made fast enough because the demand for them was high, like toilet paper, hand sanitizer, mask, gloves, all the different things they told you to wash things off with, your food and all that. Food. A lot of these producers had to lay their people off. So they couldn't produce the food the quantity of food, so prices had to go up. So that instead of you going, because you had the means to go buy 17 things of toilet paper, that you could only get 2. Even if you were rich, you still could only get 2. They had to lower that, and then they raised up the prices so that you wouldn't buy more than 2. So they had to raise the prices. With all that shit happening, you had a president that mismanaged the pandemic. He literally said to everybody, oh, it's like the flu. You can actually, you'll be okay. It's going to be gone pretty soon. He had so many mixed messages. But on tape, in an interview, this man literally told America, told this guy, this writer that interviewed him, that he knew from the beginning that this was worse than the flu. That it was deadly. Like most deadly diseases that come in America that we are afraid of are less than 1% as far as how bad it was. He said this was 5%. With the flu being less than 1%, which killed people, the Spanish flu, which killed millions of people back then, he said it was 5 times worse than the flu. 500 times worse. Less than 1%, he shot it up to 5%. But told Americans it was like the flu. Millions died all over the world. In America, over 1 million died. People were dying by the thousands because of him not handling it the right way. He made the solutions that they did come up with, shooting in the dark, trying to figure it out. 6 feet away, mask. He made that a horrible thing, a political thing, when living as human beings and loving one another. When that's like saying when 9/11 happened, to tell people nothing happened, y'all. Just keep moving. Asbestos, no big deal. Cancer, please go walk into the mess. It's okay. You're fine. That's the amount of what actually happened. It's tantamount to what just happened. That he said it's okay to walk into the fire without anything to protect you. That was the president, which got so many nut jobs up in fucking arms about, oh my God, I'm not wearing a mask, and throwing tantrums in stores and shit like little kids, bad kids at that. Instead of having a unified message to save everybody, he could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives, and he chose not to. All of that money being having to be spent to rent out places, put beds everywhere to separate people, people having to do whatever they had to do to stay alive, jobs telling people they couldn't come to work, everybody having to do. The American people, the majority of us came together and did what we had to do for our people, other Americans. We had a sector, the Trumpites, that were a pain in our ass. We're trying to solve the problem. They're exacerbating the problem. They're coming up with conspiracy theories, taking horse therapy and shit just so they can. It was the dumbest shit. And to this day, they think they did something. Millions died. In America, over 1 million. And they did nothing to help Americans. If anything, we know is that when America hits and shit hits the fan for us, we can't rely on them to do shit for America. Because they don't see America as a unit. When we go through hell and the tragedy, they separated from America and came up with this little tantrum ass American whatever. And the rest of us was fighting so that we could stay alive, and that our neighbors could stay alive, so that our grandmas can stay alive, so that scientists could help us get through this, like they helped us get through Ebola, and they helped us get through all these other things that could have blew up under other presidents who handled it properly. All of that cost money, way more than we needed to spend. On top of funding everybody, giving the whole damn country money, PPP loans and other types of loans and shit just to stay afloat and not having to pay it back. All that money being spent and implemented into the country. Anybody who knows anything about economics knowing with that kind of spending, once this is over, inflation is going to hit the roof. Inflation is going to hit the roof. And for people who have no clue, not even a little inkling about economics and how it works, you think Republicans know that this is a good economy. Us having the race that we have right now is good if you look at what we did to this country, how much debt we accrued in this country over those years. Instead of riding with America and trying to make it better, you got a group that wants to get in power, so they want you to believe it's worse than it actually is. Every metric says our country is doing better. But what happens? Republicans go out there and say, you had it better 4 years ago. You had this better. No, you didn't. You just forget. You forget the fact that you couldn't even hug your grandma. Hell, you couldn't even go see your mom. Your kids were at home all the time, so you had to hopefully get a job where they could be able to let you stay home and take care of the kids. But you had to keep up with the schooling and all that shit while having to work, while having to feed them. So many of y'all was extended. You couldn't afford child care before. School was taking care of that. And now you got to get child care. Now you got a job. Now you got people were losing their homes. It was just hell. How the hell do you think 4 years ago your life was better when you couldn't, most of you couldn't get jobs? Your job was decreasing how much they paid you because we can't give you as many hours because we're not getting as many people coming in. And then we got a president in President Biden who came in, assessed the problem without the help of the previous idiot, put people in place. Do you understand we never had to worry about the White House being fully staffed? Donald Trump couldn't keep an employee. Hire the best people. Everybody was quitting. Every month there was somebody who was hired to be the big guy, the best, was fired later because they didn't kiss his ass the right way. So unstable. Our country has been stable with President Biden in office. You ain't heard about nobody quitting and getting fired for just some craziness. I don't know about you, but I don't hear nothing through the whole 4 years. Didn't hear a peep out of Biden complaining about shit, just working. Every day was a press conference with Trump talking shit about something. Woe, it's me. Woe, it's me. You know what kills me about Trump, and what people who like Trump, what kills me about, especially black people? Black people have been asking for like reparations for fucking ever because everybody's gotten it but us. And what you'll hear, the complaint coming from white people who don't want that to happen, and people of color as well that don't want that to happen. They'll say it was a long time ago and you guys have this victim mentality. Just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. While your orange Jesus has more, he's more of a victim than the slaves. He complains every day about being a victim. The biggest victim is a billionaire. It makes no sense. Absolutely none. Always the victim. Don't get my way, I'm a victim. And you know, no matter who it is, Republican, Democrat, white, whatever, people, when you give this man any kind of validity, it is like that bratty ass child that you sit there and say, it's going to be all right, when you should have gave them a spanking and told their ass to sit in the corner and think about what you just did. You coddle this man. He messes up. You give him another chance. He breaks the law. You don't want it to apply to him. I don't understand how that's supposed to work, and you not think and not know that people of color, like I said, we can see shit a mile away that most people don't see. That's white privilege right there, ladies and gentlemen. There is no way in hell, Latin, black, Asian, you're not getting that opportunity where you break the laws and people want your life to be put back together again without ever having to do anything. Not even saying you're sorry. Just let it go. I hear Republicans and Democrats alike, not Democrats, but conservative media and liberal media, CNN, MSNBC, and they always got somebody on there that's going, whoa, it's Trump. And I'm like, why is this person on here? Because this is BS. To sit there and give him another chance on top of another chance on top of another chance is insane. It says white privilege blaring, I mean loud as hell, and they're justifying it. And they know no other race would get that opportunity. It wouldn't even be entertained. It wouldn't even be a part of the conversation. It'll be how many years are they going to get? Lock them up. Right? And how often people are like, take the high road. Forget you. Taking no damn high road. This man took the lowest road of lows, and you want to take us to take the high road. You hear Republicans saying all the time, well, this is at its baddest moment, and why are you guys like dumping on him? This may be the worst thing that's gonna ever happen. Piers Morgan says this shit. It's gonna be the worst thing. America just can't, I don't know if they're gonna be able to handle it. Shut up. The hell you talking about? America's about each person in this country is not above the law. I don't give a care who you are. You're not above the law. Not Obama, not Biden, not Trump. You're not above the law. I don't care who you were in your past life. I don't give a hell who you are right now. If you are an American, our standards are no man or woman is above the law. Point blank, period. Don't break the law and you'll be fine. We have a court system that's been around for hundreds of years. It's not the best, but it is what it is. That's all we got. Can't just change the rules in the situation. You can go and get the laws changed. Be my guest. But you got caught up in the system before the laws changed. You can't change them in the midst of the law already existing. You could be a case study for the next time this happens. Then the laws can be made from your mistake, but the laws can't be changed immediately as you made the mistake. And that's what they're trying to do, like retro his mistake. Well, let's make it seem like it was 10 years ago that this happened and set the precedent now. No. How about we wait 10 years and the precedent's already changed and he's already in jail doing his time or whatever. For the next president, we'll set new rules so they don't do what this idiot did. You would think. Exactly. All he does is whine, Lynn. So going through this whole process with Trump and the things that he's done, and we're dealing with the idea of he created the mess, meaning like he didn't create COVID. He handled COVID horrifically. He did it horrifically. The only thing that happened that was good about the pandemic that came out of Donald Trump was Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and their team. If they hadn't did what they did, millions more would have died. And with this thing being the way it is, and every country that was going through it was figuring out ways to fix it, nobody actually had the answer because it just happened. Everybody was scrambling to find what we got to do to fix this. While at the same time, you got a Republican and Trump all sitting there trying to throw fucking kinks in it. We get it working, like, I don't want to do that. Bleach, all this, all that. I'm like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Leave the people alone that know what the hell. It's like if I'm a doctor and I'm performing a surgery. You get some idiot that just became the manager of the hospital coming in on the surgery saying, do you sure you want to cut that part? What is that part called? I don't know. But you sure you want? Get the hell out of my operating room. The hell? Who are you? That's what Trump kept doing to these scientists. Inputting his idiotic horse medicine in this. Get out of here. Throwing a kink in the solution. My sister died from COVID because this idiot made people believe that it was just the flu. Many people I know died from it. Because again, this idiot kept denouncing what scientists were saying what was going on. Now, mismanaging that cost us a crap ton of money. Biden comes in, assesses the situation, immediately starts talking about taking the vaccine. Showed you it was safe by actually having it put in his arm. Leaders showed you it was safe and put it in their arms. People in the military, people that we trusted, athletes, their lives, they're worth millions and billions of dollars, taking this in front of a camera to let you know I'm getting it. If I'm making billions of dollars, you think I'm going to die with this shit? Nah, I want to live. Look, it doesn't hurt. And the majority of Americans went out and did their duty. And we were able to get out in these streets, get jobs, and start becoming productive again. Getting back to certain positions. Some of us stayed at home, but still we was able to go out, enjoy dinner somewhere amongst the people. He did it in a shorter time. Trump had 2 years to do it. Had no plan of figuring out how to get people back. Biden comes in, starts to do it. Now, what happens when Biden comes in? Everything starts to pick up, right? Another part of the inflation issue, because before, nobody was on the street. So oil production for gas and all that went down. So therefore, you had to pick up the oil, gas production to be able to keep up with the economy that's about to shoot up, but you don't have enough product to produce fast enough for society. So what happens then? You have to charge more for that gas and all these other things so that people don't deplete the product. If you kept it low, product's gone. Nobody's got gas. You go to every gas station, it's empty because the prices are too low. Had to raise the prices. That goes for food production as well. For 2 years, the production of everything, chickens and hogs and corn and meal, all that shit went down. Why are we making product that can't be sold? We're losing it. So they bring the actual production down, raise the prices, and therefore they can keep a steady amount of product that can always replenish itself fast enough so that we don't have empty shelves. If you remember, our shelves were empty because they couldn't produce as fast as we were actually buying. So once Biden comes in, we have to produce like crazy, and we have to figure out how to gradually produce. If we produce way too much, then we blow up the economy another way. So we have to gradually produce for our actual demand. That's why you also have a factor of inflation going up. Too much money into the economy, too many products, and we got to actually figure out how we can level this shit off, right? It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. And it takes a lot of different strategies to try and make that happen. And when all that happening, our markets are rising. Your 401k, if you got one, has been increasing throughout Biden's time, the entire time. Quit lying to people that you ain't making no money if you got a 401k. Your 401k been looking nice. Quit lying. Tell the truth. Let's see. I see something with Benny Luck. What's going on? For the same, I got you, Aunt. You lost your aunt? Sorry, you lost family. Yeah, it happened. It happened. I have friends who lost a crap ton. I don't know how many. It's like in their family and friends had a big family. It's like up to 100 people in their family, man. They had huge family. Up to 100 people, family and friends, have died during COVID. They would come on like social media, TikTok, and literally say, there's been 45 people in my family that's died. And they had a tick, every month it was 55, 65. They were depressed. I mean, it was just insane. People don't understand it because you may not have gotten in touch with it. But it's not just about you. It's a we thing. It's not a me thing. That was a we thing we were going through. And this person did not care. Not at all. He literally said he knew this was 500 times worse than the flu that killed us in 1920. And he told people, I don't want them to panic, so I'm going to basically lie to them. You don't have to panic them. You could just unite them. We need to beat this. You could have made COVID the enemy. And you could have said, we need to defeat this enemy. We all need to wear our masks so that we could get this over with in like 6 or 8 months and not 2 years. We need to come together as Americans and fight for each other. This is the strongest war that we're going to go through that doesn't have a weapon other than biochemical. Let's fight this thing. And we would have been united. And we wouldn't have lost some of our family members. But this man treated it as some kind of political event. When it was actually America against COVID. Not Americans against COVID. I'm telling you, it was insane to me how these people thought. Matriarch, most amazing woman. I'm sorry for your loss, Nicole Ward. Exchange for the month again, $272,000. Thank you, Kelton. Mental whipping, yeah. I'm going to look at some of these. We lost 12 family members. Sorry about that, the real Bill P. Thank you being a member. I appreciate you. I'm going to go through some of these comments before I go. I get to speaking, and I'm sorry. I got to get used to this. Usually when I'm on TikTok, I'm looking straight at the comments right in front of me so I can respond to them. When I'm talking to you like this, I'm ignoring you by looking over here. So I'm learning. So bear with me. It's not disrespectful on purpose if that's what you feel. On the moment he was in, yeah, he should have been, Vera. Yeah, Lynn McCleary, how MTG treated the doctor, it did piss me off too. This man dedicated his entire life to this, and this is not something we should have fought over. What agenda would a doctor who has saved us from everything? This is the same doctor that dealt with AIDS. I mean, this is the same scientist who helped us get through so many different epidemics that could have grown. During Obama's era as president, we had a mini pandemic, but it only harmed, I think, killed like 1 or 2 people. They got a hold of it before then because they managed it, and President Obama kept his mouth shut about what the hell was going on. He relied on the doctors to give him information, and they cut that shit out before it actually became a huge pandemic for us. It could have became worse than than COVID. Knocked it out. But no, this dude mishandled it. He made it a political like cudgel, and he just kept hitting people over the head with misinformation that killed families. I hold him responsible for hundreds of thousands of people's lives dying, not because of COVID, but his mishandling of it, his carelessness, his enactment, his stupidity with bleach and light in the skin. Antiseptic he was talking about, which has bleach in it and alcohol. It kills it in a second. I mean, it behooves me that a person that dumb could have been a president. He shouldn't have been a manager at McDonald's with that type of mentality. On your broadcast, hey, Benny Loco, hit me up. I don't know how I'm on YouTube. I don't know. Yeah, you can hit me up in an email or something. My email on here is info@straightfactsnochaser.com. Hit me up. Let me know what's going on. Most definitely. The The ports, folks were wiping their asses with banana peels, coffee filters, and corn cob. It was just insane. Everything we had a problem with, he mismanaged. When we had the hurricanes in Puerto Rico, mismanaged. I was like, this is the most horrific leadership America has had in my lifetime. I can't talk about the 1800s like that, but in my lifetime, I mean, what's his name? When I was a baby, I don't know anything about what was going on, how he did it, but the president who's like 100 years old now, the oldest president, not Clinton, I can't think of his name right now, but the president from then, he was a peanut farmer. They thought he did bad. This was the worst in my lifetime. The worst. They threw paper towels, man. But Jimmy Carter, thank you. Thank you very much. We hit that up first. That was hippie. Thank you. Jimmy Carter. They blamed him and said he was like the worst president. But Trump outdid him in my lifetime. Outdid him in any situation. Again, I was a baby. I don't know if anything was real about what Jimmy Carter did or didn't do and what he was set up to do or whatever. I don't know. I didn't do the history on him because I was a kid and I really didn't pay attention to it. But Trump did way worse. And, you know, I'm getting tired of people having revisionist history, trying to make us believe something was different than it actually was. He made huge mistakes. Own up to them and be better. How could somebody who hasn't owned up to his mistakes be elected into office again and tell you he's going to do better? He don't even try to tell you he's going to do better. He says he's going to do better than Biden. There's no way for him to do better than Biden. The only thing they think of is the same thing they always do. Tax cuts. Guess what happens with tax cuts and money being put into the economy? Higher inflation. So this man caused our higher inflation because of his mismanagement and his inability to figure out, like, okay, how are we going to fix this once COVID is over? He had no plan. Biden comes in with experts and believing the experts, not thinking that he knows every damn thing. Got the experts who knew what was going on with the economy and studied the economy and already had, he got the greatest people. Better than Trump. I got the good people. No, Biden got the good people in a position to fix the crap that Trump effed up. And ever since he's been in, we've done everything better. Do we have places to go that could be better? Of course. How many of you guys know Donald Trump's going around talking about, oh, when I get in, we're going to drill, baby, drill, and all this other shit. It is a mantra that they use that makes you think he's going to get you more money. Joe Biden has produced more oil in this country than we've had for well over 50 years. So Donald Trump's going to come in and do better than him in oil? He produced more than Trump did. So how can you have that as a platform, as drill, baby, drill, when it's already drilling, baby, drilling way more than you did right now? It makes no sense. But you know what does make sense and it's wrong? He's speaking to people who don't learn. They love mantras. They're in a cult. They want to hear the same shit. Conservatism, to me, stands for I don't want shit to change. That's it. Because to hear a man say drill, baby, drill, when we're already drilling way more than we ever did, it tells me that all you want to hear is the same old shit to make you feel comfortable. And he knows that. So he tells them what they want to hear. What makes them feel good. What makes them want to get out and vote. And if that does that, it's because they're uneducated. They don't know that they're producing more oil right now than Donald Trump ever did, than Obama did, than Bush did, than the other Bush did, than Bill Clinton did. So how can you have that as an argument and it be logistical? That's the point. They're uneducated voters. That's why Donald Trump says he loves the uneducated. Why? Because everything he tells you is a lie and you're too stupid to research it to find out if you're being lied to. That's why. Those 3-word chants, yeah. Fire Frost, come on now. Love it, Fire Frost. This is exactly what I found out this week about what Joe Biden did. And he's a president, but I can't just give it to him. He okayed it. The strategy that the people he hired did to try and help us with our gas prices. Joe Biden's good people came up with an idea to lower our gas prices, which you've noticed has gone down. Because a lot of these businesses were price gouging us, right? A lot of them are coming out now saying, we're going to lower prices to help you guys out, pat us on the back. No, you guys price gouged us. When the economy finally got back to the standard in which we had the right amount of production and the right amount of demand, you should have lowered prices, predicting that or determining that. Instead, they kept rising prices to see where was going to be the breaking point where you guys couldn't afford it anymore, and that their profits weren't going to be like too extraordinarily that the government's going to be like, what the hell y'all doing? So they kept raising them. Then it slowly started talking about the president's talking to them and all stuff like that. They're going to cut it down for us. No, you got smacked on the head like a little kid, and the government told you, look, we see you price gouging. We're going to start suing your ass if you don't bring the prices down. So they tell you, we're doing it for you. No, they're doing it so they could save their profits they made off of you. The extraordinary profits they made by price gouging you. But with the oil companies, like you said with OPEC, like Firefrost was saying, the United States realized that OPEC and all these oil companies were price gouging us, that America produces so many millions of barrels ourselves that we have in reserve. We put millions of barrels on the market and charge less for them. And we were selling them not only to us, but other countries, which caused OPEC to be like, oh shit, they're underselling us. They're buying it from America and not us. So we reset the price, I think, to like $70 a barrel or something like that, as opposed to being $100. And they had to come down, or America was going to end up being the mass producer of giving people oil. OPEC didn't want that, so they lowered the prices. Therefore, our gas prices lowered. But guess what happened in that process? America made over $5 billion off of oil during the process of getting them to actually bring their prices down. What we essentially did was control the market by putting oil out in the market and selling it lower. The people wanted from us and not them. So yeah, your president and his team created a strategy to force these people who were price gouging us to lower their prices. You think Trump would have came up with that? Hell no. Hell no. His people. I ain't even saying Biden would have came up with that. His people did. The people he put in place. Trump's people, all they know is allegiance to him. They have no idea what the hell they're doing. There you go. Northeast 299. Prices were lowered because of Joe Biden's team and his approval to do what they asked, what they suggested he do. He said yes. So you got to give it to him since he's a leader, but I give it to the team, to be quite honest. And that comes with bringing smart people into position to come up with a strategy with enough pressure on them to do so. They did something. That means they care about the American people if they put a strategy together to help us out. This Republican people would have never did that. They would be beholden to OPEC. There's no way in hell they would have brought the prices down. They would have said, to hell with y'all. OPEC would have paid them off and gave them a little money on the side, and life would have been hellacious. Gas would have been like $18. They don't care. Republicans don't care. They care about profits. They don't give a shit about people. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate the gift. They do not care. You never hear a Republican talking about any kind of plan or process to help people who are hurting in America. Their only plan is to give tax cuts and let you keep some of your money. But that is not going to help you get out of poverty. That is not going to help you to go from middle class to a wealthier class or from poor to middle class. That's not the answer. The answer is doing the exact same thing that they do for rich people. Create subsidies for average folk. The people who are on welfare the most are the rich people. Do your research on this. Rich people receive subsidies, which is welfare. Shit they don't have to pay back. And when I say subsidies, I mean like grants and loans and investments, that type of subsidy. Not like you get a tax write-off if you buy a business. Not that. What's up, The Real Bill? What happens is, let's say that I'm a major like developer. I would go to the government and say, you know what? I'm going to create 10,000 jobs. I'm going to create this big thing in Omaha, let's just say. All this land out there. I'm going to build this big factory and create jobs for people out there, blah, blah, blah. We're going to need 30 million. We're going to put in 60 million of our own. United States said, okay, that's going to help the people. But what the United States will do is that money has no restrictions. And what I mean by restrictions is like, if it don't work out, it don't work out. Do you owe it back? No, you don't owe it back. You tried. They go out and do what they say they're going to do, start building this property. And many of you guys have seen it. They start building the property, and all of a sudden, the property ain't even there. 3 years later, where's the property? Nowhere to be found. They ran out of the $60 million and the $30 million, whatever they got from the government. They don't owe it back. But that money isn't gone. Where'd it go? Into their pockets. Investments overseas. All over the place. They don't owe it back. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is welfare. And how many of you understand that that is a strategy for the rich? They do that shit on purpose. They promise shit that they know they have no reality of turning it in. They have no responsibility at all. And they know for a fact that they're not going to complete this from jump. They just need money to infuse into other businesses. And they'll use 30 million to build this property, knowing it costs 100 million, and say, we can't do it. How many buildings y'all don't pass in your state where construction is stopped? It's not the state that's building this company. It's some business was supposed to be in your state. They promised they're going to create so many jobs that the government gave them millions of dollars in bonds and subsidies or whatever the hell it is, loans that they don't have to pay back, and it's never built. Something falls apart. Oh, it just didn't work out. Well, where's our money? Oh, we don't owe it back. We tried. We told you we're just going to try. We didn't guarantee the 10,000 jobs. We said we're going to try. And they do this over and over and over again. Travel from different states with no promise of ever doing what they say they're going to do. And we end up footing the bill. But see, you don't think of that as welfare. You think of that as like business ideas. No, they want money to invest somewhere else. They promise one thing and push the money somewhere else. Don't believe me. Donald Trump got charged with this many years ago. Him and his father. And it was really his father and his father's business partner. it was actually not Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump's father and his business partner. Back in the day when they built the suburbs, and this was like after the World War II, 45, around there, when they started building the suburbs for the people who were coming back and building homes that black people could not partake in. The government wouldn't allow them to buy these properties. When they came back, there were many developers that were getting money to build hotels, apartments, suburbs. Well, one part, like in New Jersey, they were building suburbs. Donald Trump's father was building apartment buildings, also getting a piece of these funds from the government that were never meant to be paid back. Well, he got sued at one point in time, and they paid for a senator to become part of the Senate. And once he got in, or somehow, this lawsuit disappeared. But go look it up. Donald Trump and Fred Trump, Donald Trump's father, Fred Trump and his partner at the time had a scheme where they got money from the government, built this apartment complex, never given anybody any place to live. They said that they couldn't actually get people to live there after they built it. But what they did was they got this property, they got the money from the government, got this property, built it, rented this property out to their own business, right? For an extraordinary amount. Like they got it for a small amount, like back then, like $30,000 or whatever the heck it was. Got the property, built it, did not get anybody to live in it, tried to tell the government that the property just didn't work out, couldn't get people to live in the property. They tried, rented it out to their own business for an extraordinary amount, like $79,000 or $75,000, something like that, a month, for a 99-year contract. For $75,000 a month, 99-year contract they made. Then they told the government they could not rent out the property and that it failed. Well, their deal with the government is the government would buy it back. They stood to make millions off a $30,000 property because it was a strategy to get money to build a property back in those days, because the government was paying all this money to these developers to build because they needed it back for their military men and women. It was coming back. They did this, and it was illegal to do. And Donald Trump's father, Fred Trump, and his partner were being sued for that. Donald Trump has been bred to be a criminal. His father was one. But they've always known how to get around everything politically. They bought their way out of trouble. They've had multiple lawsuits where they could have went to jail. His father bought their way out of it. Somehow it would just disappear, never make it into court. Sounds familiar, huh? They created fraud back in those days. You think Trump didn't learn from that? Trump don't know nothing about real estate unless his dad taught him. And his dad was a criminal, so that's how he knew how to do it. That's the strategy. So when you talk about Donald Trump bankrupting businesses, that was on purpose. He still made money out of every bankruptcy. The people who lost money were the people who invested in him. He got to keep the money that they invested in him. The strategy is to make it fail. The only person that doesn't fail is him. His investors fall apart. And that's strategy after strategy after strategy. His father did it. And the only reason I know this, because I researched his dad and I saw the things that his dad did. And now I realize Trump is no different. He's no different. So you can go look it up. Right? Being loco, they've done so much for us. The Bidens and the presidency and the team he put together. I hate giving presidents all the credit for stuff. But when I talk about like the Biden situation, I have to give it to him. But I really am giving it to the people, because I don't know all the people, but the team he put together. They're the ones that are making the smart decisions. And again, people are, like, oh, you don't like this about Biden. I said, look, there are things I don't like about Biden. I don't hate Biden, but there are things I don't like about it. And that means not about the person. I have nothing against him as a person. His decision making on certain things, like the war over in Israel and Palestine. I don't believe he's handling that properly. I just don't. I would handle it differently. And I don't know his reasoning behind it, but I also understand that we have treaties with these countries that we support, and it seems like we blindly support them, but we have to legally support them. And it doesn't seem right often, but we've already made that agreement, and it's binding. UN agreements, stuff like that, they're binding. Most people don't understand that, when you think about, let's say, like, for instance, Israel, as much as, like I told y'all before, telling the truth can be painful, but it's true. Look at the history of Israel. The only time Israel existed in that area that it exists now is in biblical times. And if you don't believe in the Bible, then it never existed, right? Or at least you don't believe in the Bible as it is now. It never existed. So to be able to say that Israel was there many, many moons ago based on a Bible that you don't believe in, you're telling people that you know better because of your Bible that was written that we don't even know if it's factual or not. It's just words that were written down by whom we don't know. You say Jesus Christ, but it really wasn't by him. It was by supposedly his 12 disciples, whom a lot of that has questions about it. A book that's very questionable with many people, millions of people, you're going to make actual laws around, actual decisions for people's lives around. You have to understand there has to be some people who just can't stand that. So I can understand why people who love, like Israel, you have to know and I ain't got nothing against Israel, but you have to know the facts of Israel. Go back and look them up. The people who took over Israel were really the people who were in Germany. Correct? Prove me wrong. And those people who were treated horrifically went to the Palestine area and was welcomed with open arms. But there was already a plot before they even realized that these people were not coming to be just their friends. These people were coming to colonize the area. So America can't really do anything about it since we taught them about this colonization shit. We are them. They are us. No matter how much we may dislike it, this country was colonized. Palestine was colonized. We can't say that that didn't happen because we in our feelings. Let's deal with the facts. Came from Germany after Hitler, and the war was going on over here in Palestine. These two empires that were going on that were fighting. Russia and America on the same side. Go figure. But America was not fighting first. Russia was, with the people who were trying to take over at the time. America was just sitting on the shores, just chilling. America ended up getting involved because of a little, we would call it text today, but you know how they had the messaging system back then. You know what I'm talking about, on the ships and so forth. It was convenient that America wasn't even trying to get into this war. Ended up getting into this particular war because there was a message sent that said Mexico, that the Palestinian people who owned that particular area sent a message to Mexico saying to Mexico, if America gets into this war, we'll support Mexico taking over America, and we'll fight for you in the war to take over America. That's when America got into this war. Now, who helped that message come through? The people who would benefit the most from it, the Zionists. Out of nowhere, Russia's about to leave this war because Russia is pissed. They're like, you know what? Americans, the Russian people, like, stop fighting that war. What do we get out of it? When we win it, does Russia get any of the land? No, then we out. We ain't fighting that war for them. And they would have lost the war. But they didn't lose it because out of nowhere, when Russia's talking about leaving, there's a message that pops up that Mexico wants to take over America, and America ends up getting into this war, and it was the Zionists who came up with this, the ones who wanted this property. You might want to understand what that happens too. The Zionists actually were working with France and so forth. They already had a written agreement that if they won that area, they won the war, that the Zionist Jews would get the land. Because they were trying to give them land in Germany. Because all that shit that happened to them, they deserved something, right? Nobody would disagree with that. But their question was, well, our homeland was originally in Palestine area. You know what I'm saying? So what about that area? Written agreement, signed, sealed, delivered. Okay, if we win. So who stood to benefit? The Zionists, because they already made the deal with the French. So all of a sudden, a message comes from through the Zionists to America to get into a fight that America wasn't going to fight in and that Russia was about to leave. It's just amazing how that just popped up. America, I mean, the world just works in mysterious ways. And that's how it was developed. Morse code. Thank you, Crystal. So when you go back and look at this shit, you'll realize America has bloody hands in this shit. We were tricked into fighting for them. We were tricked into it. Trust and believe. But we're in it. We're the ones who invested in that area and made it become what it is. We helped with the colonization. We helped force the Palestinians out of their own land. We are in it just as much as them. And that's why Biden is trying to ride or die with them, because we are the ones who helped this whole process develop. Our hands as Americans are just as bloody. I know it hurts. I don't like it either. But that's us. That's America. Like I said before, I tell the truth even though it hurts. But we can't get through it until we actually go through it. Now, how can America fix this? That's what we need to do. Admit our faults and set another plane and say we're going to do better from here on out. We made a mistake then. We don't have to keep making the same mistakes because we made an agreement. We can change it. We can amend this agreement. And that's what I think Biden should do. He needs to amend this agreement. Realize that. I understand this is how we stay safe in the Middle East because they're the power that we've helped create to keep us safe. But we also have to figure out a way to be able to pull back and say, look, you wouldn't have Israel if it wasn't for us fighting to win that war, to help you guys get it. And mind you, the Jewish people didn't even fight in this. They just were the recipient of the war. It wasn't fighting for Jews. No. We were fighting these two empires. That's it. The people who benefited from Russia and all these different people fighting against each other trying to get this land were the Jewish people, the Zionist people. They benefited. They didn't fight in that war. They just benefited from it after we won. They made a pact that if they won, they got the land and became the ally for all the people to take control of that area. So learn your history. Learn your history. I'm not saying that I hate one culture or another. I'm just saying these are the facts. We're a colonizing country. The Zionist Jews colonized Palestine. People in Palestine deserve better. And it starts with admitting the damn truth and amending it. fixing it somehow. Not ignoring it, not saying, oh, well. Otherwise, it'll continue. And that's why it's continuing, because nobody wants to solve it. The solution for one thing is to kill them all. And I don't see how America rides with Israel if they do such a thing. At that point, our connection to Israel should be disconnected. If their plan is to kill all the fucking Palestinians and take over their land, America needs to separate. We need to have a clean break from that. We've been making this mistake forever. We need to start fixing these mistakes, not riding with them, not ignoring them, but facing it and making it a better place. I think most Americans, most people want a better place. If we look at our history, we know where we messed up. We can fix it. That's the way I see it. Been fighting in the Middle East forever. So that's why I say we have to figure something out. The Balfour Agreement started this in Great Britain, Germany, and the U.S. Correct. Thank you, Real Bill. Thank you for all the exact facts. I appreciate that. By the Zionists, right, Real Bill? I appreciate that. Like I said, get the facts out there. Get the facts out there. And I understand that they're not going to always be good, but they're factual. And the only way we get past them is that we know them and we don't repeat them. We don't celebrate them either. I mean, there are certain things that we've done as people since these things have happened and they need to be celebrated. But the mistakes that we made, we need to fix them, not ignore them and not tell people to forget about it, because they're never going to forget. Not until they get through it and face it. That's the way I see it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have to get up out of here. Your boy been talking for a while. I got a show on TikTok that starts in about an hour from now. I get to talking. Y'all know, you can see it. TikTok people already know. I get to talking about stuff I'm passionate with. Time flies. I look up and I'm like, wait a minute. It's about to be dark here in like an hour or two. It's real. It is real. But I love chatting about the truth. I believe, honestly, the truth will set you free. The truth can oftentimes put you behind bars, but when you face it and you realize the problem, and the problem more than likely is you, once you get over that, you can have a better life. But if you keep ignoring it, that lifestyle is going to always be the lifestyle that is going to chase you down until you rectify it, till you face it, till you admit it, until you take responsibility, and then you can have a different trajectory in life. Yeah, I love you, Benny Loco. Yeah. Drew is one of my favorite informed chatters. Yeah, I love it. I'm loving this whole process of seeing truth always ain't always pretty, but it's always the truth. Exactly. I don't know if I can save these comments so I can look at them later, because, I get to talking. Like I said, I got to look over here. I got to figure it out. But I'm going to move it on over if I can. Let me see if I can save it before I go. Can I save these chats? I'm trying. I'm going to read some of these that I go through. Dr. Phil's interview with Trump. Sorry if you've already mentioned it. I just tuned in. No, Jennifer, I did see part of it. And the part that I don't quite understand is Dr. Phil has gone way off the rail, or the train way where he used to be. And I mean, maybe he was always like this and we just didn't know it, but he didn't show that side of him. But I mean, I don't care about his politics, but if you're going to, the things that I saw, I don't know all of it, but if you're going to ask this man, basically try to lead him down a path of not being a destructive person when he wants to become in office again, not being like vengeful and hateful, and revenge is the only thing that he thinks about. He's trying to talk him off the ledge, and all Trump is doing is like jumping more off the ledge, coming back and jumping some more, coming back and jumping some more off of this insane ledge. Then if you are really his friend, if you are really down for him, then you need to tell him the truth and say, Trump, this, what you're going through, bro, you need to like revisit, because I'm going to tell you right now, you need therapy. I know you're going through all this, but the Dr. Phil I knew before supposedly was a person of personal responsibility. Remember, that's how we got Catch Me Outside girl, trying to make her be responsible for her actions. And that's what his show is about. And he sat here and watched Donald Trump not have any responsibility for his actions and tried to coddle him. And I'm like, dude, this is not your brand. This is probably who you really are. But the brand you have and had that made you famous was holding people accountable for their actions and helping them to see their way through it. I remember a Dr. Phil interview where he had some military guy on or whatever, and they were talking about racism, and the black kid was talking about racism, and then he allowed this military idiot come on and say, "You don't know about racism," all dramatic and shit. "I dare you bring that against me. I was in the military and I fought with black people, blah, 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 blah." Let me tell you something, bro. And this is what I want to tell him. Do you know that during slavery, white men stuck their little thing inside of black women every freaking night? They thought they were animals. So does that mean white people were bestiality? They were into bestiality because they thought black people were animals? So you was going out in the middle of the night, going out and having a little love with your animal? Is that what you're telling me? So when slavery was over, was you hitting the monkeys? Were you hitting the horses just because they were your property? No. So what the hell are you talking about if you're going to sit here and tell me that this man is going to get away with what he's doing and you're not holding him responsible for anything? Not a damn thing. Your show is about this racist dude literally telling him that he don't know nothing about racism and he's a black boy. And because you fought alongside black people, and I know people in the military is my brother, shut the fuck up. What the fuck you talking about? Black people know about racism more than you'll ever know. It killed me to see Dr. Phil say some stupid shit and validate this racist dude's ideology who's sitting there. I'm not a racist. The sheer idea as a white man to tell a black man that he don't know nothing about racism when he don't live his whole life through it, and you say you're not racist, how the hell do you have validation over him if it isn't the white mentality that you somehow know better because you're white? Not right, but you're white. Because there's no way that you would know more about racism than the person who's dealt with it their entire life. If you're not racist, that means you have no experience with racism, correct? So the most inexperienced person about racism somehow knows professionally what the fuck it's about. But the person who's dealt with it since they were a child doesn't know because they're younger than you, because you are more in authority than them. It makes no sense. It reeks racist. It reeks white privilege. It reeks that you know more because you're white, not because you're right. That's why I tell people, when you say that you know about racism and you're a white person more than a black person, you already have racist ideologies. Because there's no way in hell you know more about it. Not unless you're a racist. Think about it. How in the world can you know about something and be good at something that you have no experience in? The sheer audacity for you to say you know something and you're good at it and you can recognize it but never experienced it. Just listen to yourself talk and come up with an actual thing that makes sense. It's like me saying to a doctor, and I have no experience of being a doctor, "Hey, doc, you doing that operation right?" I don't think you're doing that operation right. Have you ever performed an operation? Nah, it just don't look right. So you know more than me, is what you're telling me. Well, yeah. What gives you that belief? Did you ever go to school for being a doctor? No. So you know more because of what? Exactly. Shut up. So if you think you know more than me about racism, then how do you know? Have you ever been racist against? No. Are you a racist? No. Have you ever been around a black person who told you everything about racism? No. So how the hell you know? Explain to me, how do you know what it is? Exactly. Shut the fuck up. All right. So I went on a little rant there, but I just get tired of people trying to tell me they know something they know nothing about. I'm like, listen to people who have been racist against and learn what racism is. Racism it comes paper thin, like the hair, like hair thin. There's certain things that people say that are racist that they have no idea. And it goes all the way being to saying the N-word and not giving people opportunities because of their race. It ranges so much. And for somebody who doesn't know it, has never lived it, it makes black people shitty that you guys think you know more. And it's like, how do you know? And you ask that of a person who thinks they know racism more than you, and they never have an answer. Yet they continue down that path to tell you what it is. I think it's a tell. If you think you know more than a black person about racism that you never have experienced, you're racist. Because you want to nullify something just because it hurts that you are a part of that class. You want to make it not so that you can validate what racism is and isn't in your brain. But you can't nullify something that you are. If you think you know more than a person who's dealt with it their whole life, you're racist, or you have racist ideologies. There's no way you could know more. We run into thousands in our lifetime of varying aspects of racism. From people who tell us that we can't do something and won't tell us why we can't, even though we prove that we can do it. And the only difference between the person they say they can do it and can't do it is our race. To walking in a store and people looking at us while the white person's stealing something, the black person's over here deciding what they want, and they got their eyes on you. To going into a job interview and the person asking you, why do you want this said job? And you've heard the last interview person is because they had the door cracked, that the thing they asked them was, welcome. So we got this going on and this going on and this going on. And you know, you want to do this position. They interviewed that person way different than they interviewed you. They were trying to include them. The moment you walked in, they were trying to exclude you. To people coming in the room where you're the expert and asking the white person that you trained, how do you think best do this? It's like, that should be applied to me, right? I'm the one that taught that person what the hell they know what they're doing. And listening to that person give advice that you know is wrong and you know better, but you never get asked. Do you understand that we have dealt with varying cases of racism that you could never, ever catch up? Ever. We are doctorates at this shit. Summa cum laude. You guys are elementary students at it. There's no way you could know better unless you are a racist and you know what it's like because you harbor those feelings. More than happy to grown out of that BS. Right. I mean, the first part comes with is recognizing the truth. And then from there, you can become better. You know, everything in my life, the biases that I've held in my life, opening my mind to realize, like when I was younger, and I ain't talking about like kid stuff, but I was like in my 20s, you know, the eye opener for me was I didn't grow up knowingly at the time. I didn't grow up around gay people. Not at all. Didn't know anybody gay, even though I did. But they weren't out because they never went out. I found out later. But I didn't recognize gay stuff. I moved to LA in my 20s, 1993. So I was 22, going on 23 years old around that time. 23, I ended up coming out here in December. So I was like 23 years old. And the first time I got hit on by a gay person, I was like, oh, shit. I had no idea. You know, I'm like, I felt uncomfortable. I was in there like, what do I do? me having come to grips that, why do I have a problem with that? And I had to come to grips. The reality is I had a problem with that because I was afraid that, do I seem or appear gay to them? You know, it had me questioning my manhood. I'm like, huh? Because I was young and didn't understand it. I wasn't like ready to fight or nothing like that. I was just highly uncomfortable. I felt like what a woman would feel like if a dude was catcalling her. But I had a long way to go. But I had the right mindset of not like fighting anything like that. I was just, feel weird. You know what I'm saying? But not being aware, not knowing how to feel in that situation, but then realizing that person just found me attractive. And once I said, I'm not interested, that person left me alone. And then I had to understand that. And it's the same thing if I was doing it to a girl. Why do I have a big deal? It says nothing about me at all. But some people never will arrive at that. They got so much hate and anger that fear becomes, something that turns into hatred. And I'm like, there's no reason to hate. Let people love the way they love. It's not easy to learn that, hey, he could not be gay. So why would I be pissed at them for just taking their shot? They found out and left me alone. Now, had he been persistent, now it might have been a scuffle back then. But other than that, you get a situation, you say, you know what? I don't know something. Let me learn the truth. And also evaluate your own set of ideals. Like, why am I this way? Why do I think this way? What is the fear? Now, I love people no matter what they are. I don't care what you want to be. If you're a guy who was born a guy and you're a girl and you want to do this, you want to do that, that has nothing to do with me. Love the way you love. Why do I have anything to say in that? It's not my say-so. That is your life. And my life is not damaged, hurt by your existence. It is nothing other than, hey, it's just like a song. I like this song, you like that song. Why does it matter? Am I going to hate you because you like this song that I don't like? It's insane. Live and let live. Be productive with the people that you live with. Everybody has good intentions. That's good for me. But people who are hateful, I get it. I don't like y'all either. But those people who are just the average person, just want to live, love, and enjoy life. And if you got some kind of hate in your heart because you can't understand something, maybe you should learn and realize they're not your enemy. The problem was with you, not them. So work on yourself, because they do nothing to harm your life. They're only doing something to increase their life, their happiness. And why are you a subtractor instead of a multiplier? There's room for all of us. And those of us who are, Christian or some other belief and believers against God, you're not God. Let him or her be the judge. If God don't like it, then God will punish. It's not your job to do so. Mind your business. If it ain't hurting you, if it ain't harming you, then you don't need to be bothered with it. You wouldn't want them coming in your house and saying, you know what? I'm Muslim. I'm going to come in your house and throw away all your pork. You wouldn't accept that. So stay out of their house and stop telling them who they can love and they can't love. Move on. Deal with shit in your life. The idea that we're all busy as hell, that you got time to stop down and hate somebody just because of the way they love, is just plain insane. You need help. You need to seek therapy. It's not their problem. It's yours. Right, Butterfly? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to get out of here. Much love to y'all. If you stop learning, pull in the dirt, you know what I'm saying, Benny Loco? Do you, boo, you know what I'm saying? Enjoy your life. Stop listening to other nut jobs. But when it comes to us collectively, we have to look at it like, I don't care what party you belong to. Every community, whether it be by race or by neighborhood and geolocation, you guys need something. And that's what the government's supposed to be for. You put money into the government to be able to have things help for you. I myself personally think that if the government has money to give to these multi-billionaires and millionaires to create jobs, you have to understand something. America is held up, the economy, whether you believe it or not by the multi-billion-dollar companies, but by the small companies. It's the small businesses that keep our economy going. So if America really wanted to help America grow as far as our economy and our people, you need to start giving those subsidies, not grants and loans, well, grants, but not loans, whether you got to pay it back. You need to start giving those subsidies that you don't have to pay back like you do to the rich, to the regular people and the poor people and the middle class people. Because that way you give them opportunity to create jobs and opportunities. And they don't have to worry about paying it back. They just have to worry to meet metrics to be able to create jobs and opportunity for the people and by the people. The problem with our government is we keep giving money to greedy-ass people who you think is going to help the economy, but they're not thinking about the economy. They're thinking about their bottom line. So you need to start making them pay back if they're going to take money from the government. And the average everyday folk, they want to start a business but just can't find a way to doing it. But they may have a great barbecue business, a great whatever, and you're asking them to take loans, which they may lose their homes if they can't pay back, while they're giving away millions to millionaires and telling them they don't have to pay it back. You need to reverse that. Give the people that money to start businesses so that we can keep our economy running, that they don't have to pay back. And make the rich pay it back if they're going to ask for it, because they got it to do anyway. They don't need the government's help, our money to help. The people need the money so that we can create jobs and opportunities in our communities. That's what needs to be done. That's the way I see it. But anyway, you guys take it easy. Much love to y'all. Hopefully this was educational, informative. If you're on my TikTok, which is Straight Facts, No Chaser, Mr. Straight Facts is on there now. I will be doing old school music in about an hour, 7:30. We go for like 6 hours. So yeah, your boy be putting in that work. And 2 requests of old school songs that you may have. Bring your love of music. I believe music is love. That's why I pretty much love every genre. Not every song, every genre pretty much. Because all it takes for me is to see the person performing the art, and I fall in love with the song based on their love while they're doing it. If we thought more like that, loving people for their efforts in life as opposed to always having to have some kind of super condition for it, I think we'd be a better place. And it's not hard to do. It's harder to hate. It's easier to love, but we just throw a barrier on love because we don't want to get hurt. And I'm like, don't worry about getting hurt. That's going to happen no matter what. No matter what. But if you have love in your heart, you have a happier life. You start to see the positive even in the midst of negativity. You start to be solution-oriented more so than drama and problem-oriented. You start to question the facts of a case, of a situation, so you can get to a solution a lot quicker than delving into the feelings of whatever the issue may be. The real B. Later, folks, if I find more, you have to come and see it. Oh, that's your brothers. All right. So you can come to the show then. A beat of the heart. More than likely. Ozone Strut, my thing. All right. That'll be later on tonight. I'll be on TikTok, Straight Facts, No Chaser. Mr. Straight Facts, if you want to find me on there. But here, I'm going to try and come on more often. Try and get it structured. Hopefully this worked out. It wasn't too bad. Where I can do this, like, but a lot shorter, probably like an hour or so show. But sometimes when I get on different topics and people bring up stuff, I keep going. But I just want to get out the facts, and I want people to think. I want people to understand that this show, my life, is in search of facts so that we can find solutions, that we can become a better people and a better country. And the only way we can do that is go through the pain of the facts so that we can get to the joy of our future. But if we continue to live like we already are in the joy when we're actually in pain, we'll never get over it. We'll never become a better country. We'll start to find happiness in the past, like Republicans are doing. They're finding happiness in the past because they can't find a future that looks good for them, because they have old ideologies that no longer are acceptable by the majority of the Americans and people in the world. They want to go back somewhere. Well, most of us want to go to a place we've never been, and that's unification, that's love, that's respect, and that's honoring each other, what we need in our communities, and allowing each community to get what they need to survive. If we come together and say, look, in my community we need a new park. Fine. In my community we need this. Fine. We can do it if we come together like that. But if we're always at each other's head, talking about, I want this. No, you're going to take from me. I'm not taking from you. That's what these politicians want you to believe. It ain't taken from you to give you what you need in your community. Not at all. We all pay taxes. We need to state every year what we want in our communities and be satisfied when we get them. Instead, we get them and we be looking for 5 other things when this other community hasn't got their first thing yet. Collectively, it's a we thing, not a me thing. That's the way I look at it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all take it easy. Be safe. Much love to you. Straight facts, no chaser. As long as your feelings are based in fact, I'm good. But if your feelings are based not in fact, fuck them. That's the way I look at it. I don't care about your feelings if you're not based in fact. That's just idiocy. But anyway, y'all be safe. Much love, and I'll see you when I see you. Take care.